everybody, it's the Cryptid Huntress. I'm Jessica Jones. Thank you guys so much for being here tonight. Man, we have a great show for you guys tonight. We're going to be talking about the Ozark Howler. And I think there's probably more than one of these things. Okay, but this is something that was given to me as a coordinate remote viewing target some time ago. And we're going to be going over some of that data tonight, because this is a weird cryptid, y'all. And it seems to be a mix between a whole bunch of different animals. That's what it seems like. But I do have my very good friend. We got Robbie Rains here, back by popular demand. We've got Robbie here in the studio tonight. So you guys get the popcorn and buckle up once again, because we're going to go down some rabbit holes again tonight and make some more connections, okay, between the Ozark Howler and our national park system, and the history behind our national park system as well. And yeah, it's going to be a fun time. So if you guys would like to follow along with all of my shows and all the stuff I'm doing right now, please go to thecryptidhuntress.com. That's my website. You can find all of my shows there, all of my events that I'll be at. I have like one event that I've got scheduled right now. And that is the East Tennessee Squatch Out coming up. That'll be, I think that's September the 6th through the 8th. And that is with Manimal Research. And I can't remember the name of the place. I think it's Sasquatch Farms is where that's going to be. And so y'all please come see us. I think Lori Wade's also going to be there as well. And we're going to do a little squatching out there. So if you guys wanted to go do a little Sasquatching with the Cryptid Huntress, get you a spot there. I don't know if they've got any tent spots left or not, but you can try to get you one, y'all. And I'll see y'all there. Okay. Let's see. Also, if you would like to follow along with the remote viewing data tonight, I do have a Patreon. All of the data is posted there tonight. I put it in there this afternoon. And all the information about what we're talking about today for the Patreon members, it's in Patreon. So go to patreon.com/the Cryptid Huntress. If I could talk tonight for that. And also, if you'd like to support the Cryptid Huntress, I have a shop that's called War Woman Goods over there on Etsy. So thank you guys so much for all your support. I appreciate it very much. All right, let's get to our show tonight, because we have a lot to discuss, and there's no telling where Robbie and I are going tonight with all of you guys. All right, I'm going to read a little blurb for us on what the Ozark Howler is. The legendary Ozark Howler is a large, bear-sized creature with long, shaggy hair with prominent horns that lurks around the forests of Arkansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, and Texas. Its screeching howl sounds like a combination of a wolf, a hyena, and an elk's bugle, and it's said to be an omen of death. Encounters with this creature date back to the early 1800s, and legend says the howler was a spirit animal that protected the land from invaders. Some even claim that the howler was a curse placed on the region by a witch who was burned at the stake by European settlers. Some believe that the howler is a manifestation of the fears and hardships of the early pioneers. The early pioneers faced in the wilderness. This also known, it's got several other names too. Some people call it the devil cat. Some people call it the hoo-hoo. Okay. And interestingly enough, there is a lumberjack secret society that was called I forgot the name of it. I'll have to look it up because it's in my notes. The Concatenated Order of the Hoo-Hoo. And this was literally a secret society, kind of based off, I don't know, I guess it was based off of the other name for the Ozark Howler. So it has to do with our national forest, though. Okay, so we're going to go down this little rabbit hole tonight. To help me do this, I have Robbie Rains here in the studio with me tonight. Robbie is a police officer, and well, I had his bio here and how it's gone. So he's a police officer. He's also the host of What's Really Out There podcast and co-host of the DA Ex Machina podcast. I see DA in the chat. What's up, DA? Thank you for being here. Please help me welcome to the show tonight my good friend, Robbie Rains.
Hey, Jess.
Hey, Robbie. Thank you for being here.
Oh, thanks for inviting me. I enjoy it.
Of course. We always have a good time.
Yep.
Don't we?
Sure do.
Sure do.
May not always may not always get down the trails that we start on, but we always have fun doing it.
Oh yeah. Well, we go off the trails. I know that's the name of my show at Spaced Out Radio is Off the Trails, where we go off the rails. I try to, we kind of keep it on the trails here a little bit. I try to, but we do go off the rails at times. So yeah. What you been up to, Robbie? How you been?
I've been pretty good. We had, like I was telling you backstage, we had the first day of school today for the kids. So back in there with the kiddies again today. So.
Oh man. That's fun. I know. I got my kids starts back school almost. I think it's in like 2 weeks. Actually, not next week, but the next week we go back. So I'm looking forward to that personally. But
yeah, I actually was too because it's just during the summer. I mean, I was on the same Monday through Friday schedule, but I never knew if I was going to be working my normal time to come in, time to get off. I like that schedule. I like to know when I'm going in, when I'm getting off, and just do my job and go home. You know, oh, we need you to go to Columbia to pick up a prisoner, or we need you to go here and do this. You know, and they do that to the SROs all the time. So I enjoy being back in school where I'm just there and I do my job and that's it. Protect the kiddies, and that's all I got to worry about.
Well, I'm just glad that we have people like yourself that are there to protect our children in our public school systems. So kudos to you, Robbie. That's a big job. So I'm excited. I'm excited that you do that. That's a cool job. So thank you for doing that.
Yeah, DA and I were talking about this the other night, and after we got off the air, and I told him, I said, you know, besides being a K9 handler, being an SRO has been the most rewarding and best part of my 30-year career.
Oh yeah. That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Yeah. We were very lucky at my son's last school to have one of the best, what do you call it? School resource officers, SROs, ever. Yeah. So yeah, they always knew me as the crazy Bigfoot girl over there at my son's school. So, and I don't think his new school knows me as that. But the old school did. So
well, my assistant principal at my school was actually a big Cryptid fan. So he and I are just like, when I came back from Missouri the last time, he's like, all right, come on, sit down, tell me, come on, give me the details. So,
yeah.
And
no,
so it's fun. It's like I was supposed to be there, just put it that way.
Oh yeah. We're always where we need to be. Okay. Even if it doesn't feel good or it doesn't feel like it at some point, we're always exactly where we're supposed to be at that time, at this time. And that's where we're at right now, Robbie, over here with the sweating and these humid Southern days, talking about the Ozark Howler today. So I am so excited that you're here. And I know you guys over at DA Ex Machina had talked about this a while back.
Yeah, we've done
Ozark Howler.
We've done a couple shows on it. Yeah.
Nice. And I saw DA in the chat. So, hey, DA, thank you so much for being here. It's so good to see you guys. I always try to hop in your chat before I do my show on Saturdays and on Wednesdays too. I try to listen in because you guys have a great channel.
We appreciate it. We try to at least be entertaining. Listening to fat guys talk about sometimes not what we're supposed to talk about, but we try, and hopefully we're that way.
Yeah, no, y'all do a great job. You do a really good job. So, but yeah, okay. So let's get into this Ozark Howler because you and I have done some Bigfooting together out in the North Georgia mountains before, and so I know you ain't scared to get out there and do some boots on the ground field research.
I love it.
Me too. And so you were just in Missouri not too long ago with DA and and several guys out there. Did you guys encounter the Ozark Howler?
I believe the first time that I went out there, DA and I and Noah, his son, I think we had a Dogman, at least one, because that was when we was in Joe Bald. But when we went to Blunt Road, which coincidentally, that's where DA's second Lakeview man book was based, was the Beast of Blunt Road, and it was an Ozark Howler. The stuff the mutilated deer that we found, which looked complete, the deer we found the other couple weeks ago was mutilated, but in a different way. I think that something like that could have been what did it to those deer we found. I mean, this is the story I told you where we found that we were driving down Blunt Road towards the landing and found a deer head sitting in the middle of the road. It was not cut with a knife. It was ripped off the body and sitting in the middle of the road.
Whoa. Just sitting in the road like that. So it wasn't like somebody dressed a deer and
Now,
then had cut off its head to get the antlers or mount it or something. It
now,
was
now
ripped.
here's the thing. The antlers had been there was a big hole in the top of its head where the antlers had been pulled off.
Okay.
And DA, correct me if I because it's been so long. So correct me if I make any uh, deviations in it because we found it was more than one, but the one sitting in the middle of the road, I believe, had the horns that were ripped off, and the head it was jagged. It was no knife mark. There was no straight cuts at all. It was just like ripped off.
Whoa.
Didn't have a tongue, and there again, just like the stuff we found this past time, there were no flies, no maggots, no smell. No, it was just like it was freshly done. And what's funny about that is there were people down there on the lake. I guess they were frog gigging. So, and when I say freshly done, it was put on the road freshly because there was no blood around where it was at. So it was put there not long before we went driving down the road. Because DA was driving, Noah sitting in the back, and I was up front. We were just talking, and DA leans forward. And he's like, "What is that?" So I leaned forward. Look, I said, "It's a deer head." Noah said, "In the middle of the road." I'm like, "Yep." So I'm gonna tell you, there's some interesting stuff that goes on in Missouri.
Yeah, I'll say. I had not D, I had ED, Eric. Y'all know Eric Testerman on my show a little while ago. He's been on a couple times, and he was telling me about some werewolf reports that he's gotten out of Missouri recently.
Well, there was a couple places that we were wanting to go. Doc was supposed to make it, but he had some family stuff that come up right at the end, and we had a lot more places that we were planning on going, which we still did a lot. And me and Dia and Noah put some miles on the vehicles going down there because we drove around a bunch of different places. And like I said, it is yet to disappoint any time that I went down there.
Oh
And
yeah. Yeah, I've been I follow what you do. You know, you talked to me, you sent me some pictures and
mhm.
stuff when you were there, and I mean, you see that Joe Bald area where y'all go, and I came on y'all show with Da yourself and Da a while back, and we talked about the Joe Bald Dogman.
Mhm.
So we know there's something weird going on there, and
Oh
possibly
yeah.
a underground facility.
Well, but the weirdness just keeps on going. How it turned because the first time that I went there was you remember the feeling that we got. And I've told you this, just me and you talking. So I'll say it now so everybody in the audience can hear the feeling that you and I had the first time we were up there, and then when it stopped or started on us when we were up there with your son. That times 10 is how Joe Ball felt the first time I was there. It's just you stepped out and it was just dead quiet. There was nothing. We got eye shine that night. That's the night we found the tracks. They had noticed that the pier that they had seen somebody just been building like a week before that was gone. It just we found that tag ripped off the front of a car laying down there. It felt like just stepping into a different world. We go back this time and it's just like a normal place. You can hear bugs and crickets and birds and there's wildlife around and it's just like a normal place. And we look and there's a dock. So it's I told D, I said, this is almost like it's in a time warp. You don't know what it's going to be like the next time you step out of the car. It's I don't know how to explain it. It was weird. Yeah, I can't hear you, Jessica. Are you muted?
Oh gosh, I'm sorry. I was muted. Yes. What was it? Yeah,
I
I was just sitting here
trying to watch
talking.
chat. I was trying to watch chat and see if anybody was saying me and DA had to work through some issues on my computer the other night. So I was like, did it mess up again? And I was like, So
It was me. My son,
muted,
my son was over here making noise, so I muted my mic. So sorry, y'all. I apologize. Yeah, I was saying, let me rewind a little bit. Yeah, I usually don't mute. I'm usually on my phone, so that's why I forgot. I've got my mute button over here. So the first year that you and I went, because we went to the same spot 2 years in a row, about around the same time, almost to the date, both years, to the same spot to do some Bigfoot stuff, Bigfoot research, just to go hang out and see if the Bigfoots would come out. And it was two totally different energies out there, because the first time I didn't feel a threat. Okay, no. It didn't feel that threatening, but there was something there. It felt kind of threatening on the way down the truck. Okay, yeah, we were trying to get out of there.
When I told you to turn around, and as that shadow was walking that we saw walking across, that's when it started feeling like it was a little bit different. Yeah. I'm still not saying that we were completely in danger, but to me the mood shifted. It was just
Yeah, it was wild. The second time we went though, and so the second time we went was a different energy there, and it felt more threatening for sure. It didn't feel good from the time we got out of the vehicle until the time we went up to the tree line. It just did not feel good at all. And so that is it's the same place, but completely different energy. Two separate events, okay, two separate times. And so I know what you mean, and I think it's just what's in the environment. Okay, it's just whatever's in the environment. It makes all the difference. So so let's talk about this crazy little Ozark Howler. Okay, I know because you've been to Missouri, probably didn't run into the Ozark Howler while you were there, but you guys did have some weird activity while you were in Missouri. Lots of weird activity. There have been Dogman reports out there, werewolf reports, the Ozark Howler reports as well. But this is some kind of creature that doesn't really fit the bill of a Sasquatch or a Dogman, right?
No. And this, I was kind of thinking about this when I was listening to you describe it. It's almost like the Jersey Devil in a way, because the Jersey Devil is described so many different ways. It's described as, supernatural. It's described as cryptid. The Ozark Howler is a lot. I mean, there's a lot of the same elements used to describe it. It's like, depending on what you see, is, some people may see it one way, some people may see it another. And I just kind of made that conclusion here just a little bit ago. I was like, wow, I've never thought about that, but it is. I mean, because no two people describe it exactly the same way. Some people say it's a bear with horns. Some people say it's a big cat with horns. Some people say it's, a dog, just a bigger dog. With, the horns are really the only thing that I've heard that kind of stay the same.
Yeah, the horns are a constant for sure. And so I remote viewed this creature, one of them. Okay, I think there's probably more of them, but I remote viewed whatever the Ozark Howler is. That was the target, and the data was really kind of odd. Okay, it was kind of odd. I did pick up on an animal though. I picked up on a couple of different animals, and we're going to get into that data in just a second, because I want to talk about it, because I think it may explain some stuff, or it may just leave us with more questions. Okay, and so I have some pictures here now. Okay, so I have to be honest. I just started getting into like AI generation stuff, generated images, and so I put in the AI. I was like, I wanted the Ozark Howler with horns. That's what I put on it, with horns. And this is what I got. This is what's on the, so this is not really probably what the Ozark Howler, I've got his butt in my face, by the way. So let me take that.
It looks like
don't take a screenshot, y'all. Okay, right. So yeah, it looks like, that looks more like a dog. It looks like I'll put it back up there with this butt in my face. Okay. It looks like a dog with horns is what that looks like. Okay. And so that's what's on the cover art of the show. Sorry, y'all. I know that's probably not what it looks like, but it is kind of a mix. It looks kind of like a bear a little bit. Yeah. My dog looks like a bear. Okay. So, but they say that it has fangs, that it has red glowing eyes, and it has horns. on it. And I find that interesting that you did make that connection between the Jersey Devil having so many different types of descriptions, because some people think it looks like a goat man. Other pictures of it looks like a flying goat, like a goat with wings.
Yeah, or a horse with wings.
Yeah.
I mean, because Johnny and I did a show on it a couple months ago. That's, you know, you search Ozark Howler, that's probably the most popular picture that comes up. But Johnny and I did a show on it, and that's one of the things that we kind of hit on, and because we found out is there are so many different descriptions of it. It seems like every single person that sees it sees something a little bit different. There may be one or two things that are always the same, but there's a lot of differences. And I know a lot of that can be due to stress, or, you know, what you focus on is going to be different than what I focus on. But there's so many subtle and so many major differences that it's almost like there's different kinds, or more than, like you said with this, more than one.
Yeah, I think so too. And I remember when I was given that target, I forgot who gave me that target for the Jersey Devil. But when I was talking about it, what I thought I was looking at was a goat man, or like Krampus. Okay, I thought it was like a Krampus type of a deal. It looked like a goat man. And so I think that's kind of it. But then I started realizing that, like, whatever I was looking at, there wasn't just one. There was a whole bunch of them. So this could be the same case. Now, I wasn't picking up on that when I was remote viewing this. I picked up on something pretty specific, actually. And so here's the deal when you remote view something. It's kind of all up for interpretation. Okay. It's all up for interpretation. You get data. You can keep it or you can throw it out. Okay. And so I like I said, I came up with two different animals. Okay. But before, and I keep saying that, before we do that, let's talk about the Ozarks real quick too, because the Ozarks cover a pretty big area, right, Robbie? I mean, that's a big forest, mountains, right?
Yeah. We've talked about that. I mean, until you see some of that area, it really just, but you know, we were driving, and I can't remember which area we were going to, but DA showed me a part of the Mark Twain, and I was just like, man, just look at all that green. And he was like,
Beautiful.
I know. Yeah. And it just, when you see how much, and that was just a little stretch that we saw on the side of the road, driving to another area, and it's just, yeah, I mean, that minus the big rock overhang, all that green was what we were looking at. And I was just like, it's no wonder that things like this could thrive and survive and never be seen by more than a handful of people a year, because there's just so much vast area. You know, wrap your head around that number for the national park: 88 million acres. And that doesn't even count state parks and public use ways. That's just the national forests of the United States is 88 million acres.
Yeah.
You know, every time we do a show on that and we talk about that, I'm just flabbergasted saying that number, that's how, I mean, there's countries that are not that big in the world.
Yeah. Well, and we have a certain president to thank for that, Teddy Roosevelt. And I wanted to talk about him tonight. Of course, we're gonna definitely talk about him, because he was the one that actually designated a lot of this land as national parks.
Well, I'll be glad to jump down that rabbit hole, because we've done that several times.
Okay, well, we're doing it tonight, and I've talked about him a bunch of times. Okay, I have brought him up several times, because we're talking about missing people in these national parks too a lot. But you just said 88 million acres of land.
Yes.
And then we have all these people that go missing from these national parks, but that's a lot of land. It's a lot of land for people to go missing on. First of all, it's a lot of people going missing too, though.
Yeah, and like DA said right there, between the Mark Twain and the Ozark National Forest, that's 6 million acres right there. That's 6 million of that 88 million.
Wow.
Just in the Ozarks.
Oh my gosh. That's a lot of land.
That is an astronomical number right there. Just 6 million. But you've got to think there's, you know, almost 80 more million acres in the United States. And you tell me when you're ready to jump down the Teddy Roosevelt rabbit hole, and I will be glad to expound on mine and DA's theory about Teddy Roosevelt.
Yeah. Well, we can do it right now because why not? Let's just do it. And then the data is pretty fun. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but let's talk about Teddy Roosevelt because
Oh,
some people
here,
say that he's encountered, or him, even Daniel Boone too. By the way, we're going to talk about
yeah,
Daniel Boone a
well,
little bit tonight.
yeah, he's
You want to talk about him too?
oh yeah,
Okay.
he definitely fits into that theory. But the theory that DA, and I'm not taking any credit for this. DA come up with the theory. I just happen to believe it. We've just worked on it so much that the book that Teddy wrote was leading up to his presidential run, or during his presidential run, or when he was campaigning to become president. So, and try to make it as short and sweet as possible so we can talk about as much as we can tonight. In the book, Teddy talks about an encounter from a guy named Bauman. Never gives a first name. Supposedly Bauman and his partner, who are trappers. Bauman goes out to check the traps, comes back. His partner has been killed. He kills him apparently, and I may be missing a little bit. I don't know if he went out and found it or if it came back into the camp. But anyway, supposedly Bauman shot the thing. I don't know if he killed it or if he just wounded it and ran off. Anyway, there was a confrontation. And here's the thing that the DA and I have been working on, that part of the theory. Okay, that part's in the book. There's no denying that. That story is in there, that account. But the account was like Teddy was like interviewing this person and bringing this out. Between DA and I, that's probably close to 50 years, 60 years worth of law enforcement experience. So in my 30 years, I've taken thousands of statements from people over the years. Thousands. I have never been able to get anywhere close to that detailed of a statement from somebody who went through something like that. You have to pull stuff out of them. You have to, it's like taking candy from a baby or a screaming baby to get these details out of it. But that was just the most detailed, and talking about how green the grass was and where the fire was set up and where the tents were and what was out of the tents and this. It was just super, super detailed. So the theory that we work on, hang on, DA said Robbie, it came in their camp for the previous 2 nights before he was killed. Okay, yeah. Trying to paraphrase it, and I know I'm going to leave parts out, so DA, just keep correcting me what parts I leave out, and I'll try to add them in.
I'm trying to pull them up. Okay.
Yeah. He tells the story so much better than I do, but I can give you the gist of it. So anyway, he writes the story in the book. Now, funny things about this is, like I said, last name was Bauman. He wrote the story. The book was published by President of the United States. Nobody ever stepped forward and said, "Hey, I'm Bauman." Now, if I'm Bauman and my name was just mentioned in a book that was wrote by the President of the United States, why would you not come forward and say, "Hey, that's me"? So,
secret societies. That's probably why. We're going to get into that too.
That's okay. Yeah,
I'm just saying, there's some secret. There's some national park secret societies.
Oh no, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, okay, that's kind of maybe sketchy that nobody ever came forward, but you can't base it solely on that. Okay, Teddy was on his crewing team in college, which is rowing the boat, a little skinny boat or whatever. You know what his position was?
I don't know what the positions are on boats.
Well,
okay.
I don't know all of them, but I know one of them, and I know what it was.
What was it?
Bauman.
The bobbin?
Bauman, just like the name.
Bauman.
Just like the name of the witness.
Oh, well, there's a clue.
Yeah, that's definitely a clue. Scooby Dum says a clue.
Right.
Okay, what's the first thing Teddy does when he gets in office?
I don't know.
His first executive order was the National Forest System, the 88 million acres.
Was it his first, really?
Well, I don't know if it was the exact first, but it was right there in the very.
That was his mission, his agenda then.
And so, okay, you got 3 things right there, right off the bat that are just like, okay, you're starting to get a preponderance of evidence, let's say, to use a technical term, this starts looking a little bit more like maybe Bauman was Roosevelt and Roosevelt was Bauman. So you're Teddy's campaign manager, and he's saying this, and Mr. Roosevelt, you're about to try to get elected as president. You don't need to be going around telling people you shot a Bigfoot and your partner was attacked and killed by Bigfoot. You'll never be president.
Yeah, so, you'd be crazy. What year was that? Do you know like the years that he was president? I don't remember.
Your DA's gonna have to chime in on that one because I don't. He's in the.
Hold on. You know what? I may have it right here. As a matter of fact, let's see if anybody knows. Y'all put it in the chat. It's 1901 to 1909. That's when it was. Okay, so 1909. Okay, because I was going to say around the 1920s is when a lot of people started having Bigfoot fights. Like I'm going to say fights, attacks, like the Ape Canyon attack of 1924, I think. And Albert Ostman also was kidnapped by a Sasquatch in 1924.
That's the one who started drinking coffee to get away from it. Yeah.
Yeah. Or tobacco or something.
Yeah. Yeah, tobacco, coffees. I always get it mixed up what it is. But anyway, so nobody ever came forward and said, hey, I'm Bauman. Nobody, Teddy Roosevelt was a Bauman on his crewing team.
Bauman. I would have never thought that.
Hey, that's what happens when you have a writer for a best friend. He looks at this stuff and you get all these.
Yeah.
All these.
DA's a good detective, man. That's the good detective.
Well, and that's one of the things that DA and I are just. We're like, we don't have to. We know what each other's thinking when one of us says something like that, because it's just like, yeah, The Wilderness Hunter was the name of the book, and he wrote it in 1893, so it was right as he was getting ready to start his campaign, and so you start putting all this stuff together, and you're like, and here's the one of the kickers that to me. When you get one president that comes in and takes over after another president, either beats the president or, that president does his 2 terms, what's one of the first things this new president wants to do? Get rid of stuff that the other president did. I want to do that. You see that all the time. Why has nobody ever touched that executive order?
Mm-hmm. Well, it was a big old land grab, first of all, I would assume. I mean, that took land from people who owned it, Native Americans, the indigenous people as well. But
it's a land grab that's never been challenged and never been questioned. Nobody has ever stood up and said, hey, this is wrong. We need to change this. It's just like, okay, it was done. Cool, whatever. There's got to be a reason for it.
When we look at the maps of and I was trying to pull one up, we look at the maps of the deep underground military bases and our cave systems. A lot of them are all located around these national parks.
DA answered my question because that's what we've said. You see it?
Yes, because the truth of cryptids. Let's see. I'm pulling. Hold on. I'm sorry. My computer is a little slow today. That's not it. Hold on. Sorry. The comments are moving too quickly for my hands tonight, because the truth of cryptids is in the presidential book of secrets. There's a presidential book of secrets. I'm sure there is. I just didn't know about that. It's one of those secrets.
I 100% believe that there are certain things that each president is told, you can't do anything with this. Hey, we need to give it. You can't mess with it. You cannot mess with the national forest. Nope. Mm-mm. Why? Okay, come on in. Close the big 3-foot thick steel door. We'll tell you.
Wow. Yeah, like with UFOs and aliens and pacts and treaties with the extraterrestrials and all that stuff. Bigfoot, I mean, there's a reason, and I've been told that people who are Bigfoot field researchers are heavily monitored. Okay, now take that and add a remote viewer with that. You got me. So I don't know. I've heard some stories that I might be being watched myself, okay, with some of this stuff, because it is, we are kind of uncovering the truth here about some of these things that are, I am convinced, Robbie, you and I and DA did a show together on Spaced Out Radio one night where we talked about the map of, I think it's the U.S. Air Force, where it's a topography map.
Yep.
And they list Sasquatch as a dangerous animal
on
the map.
DA and I've talked about that too. In the early 80s, the U.S. Army Field Manual listed Sasquatch as a animal that you will encounter out in the wilderness.
Wow.
We've been trying to come up with a copy of that book, but I'm sure there's one out there somewhere, but I've said it before and I'll say it again. If our government will train a dolphin to put a mine on a ship, they're not above going out and rounding up some Dogmen and some Bigfoots, some Ozark Howlers and whatever else they can get in and try to weaponize them.
Oh, yeah. That was the survival school manual from Fort Lewis. Thank you, DA. Yeah. I mean, it's listed there. I am 100% convinced that our government, military, everybody, they know about Bigfoot. They absolutely do. And it's just something else that has been hidden from us, along with a lot of other stuff.
Well, and another little caveat to that is, you know how much the National Park Service makes a year or how much money they bring in?
That's why they don't report the missing people.
I think, that's a $33 billion with a B dollar a year industry, or cash cow, however you want to look at it.
It does. It's not just from people camping out too. I know it's like $3 to get into a state park or something. So they're not making a ton of money off the people camping out and stuff there. But I mean, I guess they get a lot of their revenue from, leasing the land out or something. I'm not even sure where they get the majority of their money from. And
as DA just pointed out in chat, we have two former U.S. or sitting U.S. presidents who were members of that secret society that was made specifically to protect the Ozark Howler. How do you have a United States president sit on a board like that? Because I don't know if Wilson was, but I know Roosevelt was a president of that organization when he was on there. That's what it was made for. How can you have...
Is this it right here? It says the Order of the Hoo-Hoo, right?
Yeah.
Okay, the Order of the Hoo-Hoo says 1892. The Hoo, and it's interesting that the mascot is actually a cat, of all things. It's not. It's a cat, and I wanted to point that out because a lot of these sightings that we're getting, people don't exactly know what this thing is. This Ozark Howler. But there's a lot of, I would assume there's black panthers and black cats, because that's a black cat in that area.
Most people who are going to say that, that's probably black bears and black panthers are most common things that people were like, oh, well, you just saw black bear, or oh, you just saw black panther, or, and I mean, if I ran into that in the woods, dark, and it was dark, and it was in a bunch of trees. I mean, I can see where something like that, where somebody say, "Oh yeah, the horns were tree limbs or whatever." But there's still so many elements of this thing where it's been seen flat out in the middle of nothing, just standing in a field, and you can see the horns and the red eye. Okay, well, how do you explain those?
Exactly. Well, I want to talk about this order real quick, the secret society, because this kind of blew my mind. I had never heard of this before.
If you do a deep dive into it, you need to talk to Miss Naoma. She knows everything about this society.
Oh, I will. I need to bring her on the show sometime, because we need to have a full out conversation about this, because it's called the International Concatenated, which is an odd word, Concatenated Order of Hoo-Hoo Incorporated. It's a fraternal and service organization with members in the forest products industry. Hoo-Hoo has members in the United States, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Malaysia, and South Africa. Wow. And I'd never heard of this before, but it was founded back in 1892. And it's mostly like a lumberjack organization.
Mm-hmm. You have to be some part or some way, shape, fashion, or form with the timber industry to be a part of it.
They are, and it's all men. I think they said they had one woman who was part of this. It says it's most of the men are only connected to the lumber industry, like company executives, newspaper men, railroad men, and others. But I guess they were originally going to be called the Independent Order of Camp Followers, but then they decided to change their name or to have the name of the International Concatenated Order of Hoo-Hoo. Now, Hoo-Hoo is a nickname for the Ozark Howler.
Coincidence?
Makes you wonder, doesn't it? It says the order is more informal than other secret societies of its day.
It does tend to make one wonder about things.
It does. I mean, I'd like to be a member of, well, I was going to say, I don't want to be a member of the Cryptid Illuminati. That's for sure. Okay.
Well,
but anyways,
if you don't have Teddy Roosevelt, who's got his, because Teddy was a firm believer in cryptids. I mean, I believe that's what the Rough Riders were for. And
wow,
you want to talk about some tough individuals. Teddy Roosevelt got shot going to give a speech and still continued to give his speech after he got shot. That's a tough son of a gun. I don't care if a book in his pocket stopped the bullet. It's still going to hurt. But the man still gave a speech, or his speech was actually folded up in his pocket, I think, or something. And, the bullet never entered his, or maybe just barely entered into it. But that's tough. That's double tough.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, you had to be tough back then. You got to be tough today. You got to be tough all the time. Unfortunately, not everybody's tough these days.
That's my opinion on, we talked about that last night. Matter of fact, somebody asked the question why we think all these sightings are on the rise. And honestly, you throw the Black Plague of the 21st century in there, and everybody was out of the woods for 3 years, and you couldn't go do anything. It doesn't take nature long to take back over an area. If we're not in it, they're gonna move back into it. We don't have the people like the Daniel Boones and the Davy Crockett's and the Teddy Roosevelts and the Rough Riders to go out and push things back. Like, sorry, it is what it is. We don't have that type of individual left in this world. There may be, small pockets and, certain individuals that are that way, but that society as a whole, that generation, whatever you want to call them, the entire culture was tough then, not just one or two people. I mean, you had, it's like you said, you had to be tough to survive back then. You don't have to be as tough to survive now as you had to be back then.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, thank goodness we do have some tough people left in this world. Okay. We do have some tough people, and we got crazy people like ourselves going out and chasing these things around the woods, all these cryptids and stuff, and having fun with it, but understanding how dangerous it is as well. And something that I found really interesting, I don't know what a snark is. A snark sounds like a cryptid to me. I don't know if you're familiar with the snark. It said for this organization's rituals and symbols, its one aim, their one aim would be to foster the health, happiness, and long life of its members in a spirit of fun. Names for some of the officers are inspired by Lewis Carroll's The Hunting of the Snark. That's a book. Okay. And they were known as the Supreme Nine. There's the people who head up this organization. They consist of the Snark, the Senior Hoo-Hoo, the Junior Hoo-Hoo, the Shrivenoter, the Bojum, the Jabberwock, the Custoctian, the Arcanopair. So I saw Caleb Jade in the chat. Hey, Caleb, thank you for being here. He talked about the arcane. Okay, he talks about the arcane and magic, and apparently our military might be utilizing that in some way. Some factions of the military or something are using like magic. So let's see what else. And the Gurdon, whatever that is, or the Gurdon. But anyways, it's just weird to me. It's just weird. It's a little odd. It's a little tongue in cheek, but they mean business. This is not a joke.
What's the best way to hide something?
In plain sight, and to make fun of something.
Yeah.
That's what they're doing. The Order of the Hoo-Hoo.
The average person that would read what you just read would be like, "What in the crap are these idiots? This is stupid. This is just an excuse for a bunch of rich people to get around, to gather around and drink and make fun of." That's what most general people, that look at that would think.
Yeah.
Hide it in plain sight.
That's right. It sounds like something out of a Dr. Seuss book is what it sounds like. Okay,
well,
so Candy says
what a spark was. I was going to say, isn't that little thing you used to follow around the head of the Thundercats? But that's a snarf.
The snarf. That's right. I knew I'd heard that. Candy says an imaginary animal used to refer to someone or something that is difficult to track down. Ooh, that sounds like a Sasquatch to me, right?
Or a dog,
an Ozark Howler,
or Ozark Howler, or Loch Ness, or any of that stuff.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. This is fascinating. I just think that this all is so important for us to talk about this stuff because it's so connected to cryptids.
This is one of my favorite. I love it when DA says, "Oh, we want to do another show on Teddy Roosevelt and all that," because I love this because history was always my favorite subject in school anyway. So
yeah.
I love getting into this stuff.
Oh yeah, me too. Me too. Okay. I was trying to keep up with the comments here. We've got a ton of comments tonight. Okay. So, all right. Ultimately, it all boils down to conservation of the forest. Okay. And that's kind of what that organization is supposed to be doing. Conserve and helping each other. And with any, like any other secret society, they're there to help each other succeed in business and wealth and all that kind of stuff too. But I think they know a little something that the rest of us aren't supposed to know. And I think that has to deal with cryptids.
And like I said, on the surface, nobody's going to, when you start reading all that BS, nobody's going to dig into that.
Right.
You know, it's like, taking a barrel and painting it up to look like one of those nuclear waste barrels and hiding your valuables in it. Most people see something like that, they're not going to poke around in it because, like, I don't want to get around that. Same principle, it's,
Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, let's talk about the Ozark Howler, and I want to talk about this data, okay, that I got because it's going to take us down a weird little rabbit hole tonight. All right, it's going to take us down.
I think I started a Thundercat chat group in the comments.
You did. I love it. Well, we were just talking about Thundercats when I had Barry Littleton on my show the other day. He brought up Thundercats because we were talking about cryptid containment facilities, secret hidden facilities, and I had made contact when I was remote viewing this target with a feline extraterrestrial, and we got into the topic of Thundercats. So this is not the first time this has come up in the past 2 weeks. Okay. Okay. So this was given to me as a target back in June, the 1st of June, right? The first week of June. And so I'm just going to go through the key points of this. Okay. Because I did pick up on an animal. My first ideogram that I drew was an animal. Okay. An animal, something that was organic and natural. I wrote down, I wrote down a furry animal. Okay. Is what I wrote down. Something with coarse hair. I was picking up on Native American indigenous data. I was also picking up on something that was brown or black. And I wrote down buffalo. Okay. So, because what I thought I was looking at was actually what I thought was a buffalo. That doesn't mean it was a buffalo, but it definitely looked like a buffalo to me. So I'm going to pull up a picture of. Now I wrote down buffalo, but I think I was thinking bison because what I was looking at looked more like, there's Daniel Boone. Let me take him down. Sorry. My computer's got a mind of its own sometimes. So what I was looking at looked more like this, like a bison. Okay. I wrote down buffalo, but that's kind of what I was looking at when I was given this target. So I wrote down buffalo. I literally wrote down robust shape. So whatever I was looking at had a robust shape to it.
But look at the horns on that. That looks a lot like most of the horns that you see in the renderings of these things.
It
so
does.
maybe that's I mean, look at that. Maybe that's why you wrote that down.
Yep.
Maybe that was the part of it.
That's just me trying to make sense of what I'm looking at because I wrote down something that was large and robust, black or brown, and that it had coarse, thick hair. And I wrote down, okay, this is funny because I wrote down, these are the words I wrote down: tacked, all right, stacked and tanked, or a tank. A tank to me, like, listen, a tank, like, that's what you call a big bodybuilder dude, right? He's a tank.
Well, when you talk about, let's use combat sports for example.
Yeah.
When you talk about somebody who can take a lot of punishment, they can tank a lot of punishment. They're a tank because so maybe you're getting in on how hard it would be to stop this thing, how powerful it is.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, I was literally looking at something that it was stacked is what I wrote, stacked and tanked. Okay. But I was picking up on something when I wrote down Native American and indigenous. And what I was looking at to me looked like a buffalo or a bison. Okay. A bison. I wrote down buffalo. But I was definitely remote viewing something that was in the deep woods. And I wrote down park rangers. I literally wrote down park rangers with this. So,
well, some of the best eyewitnesses to this stuff you probably never can talk to because it's the park rangers. Because some of them finally come forward, either deathbed confessions or they retire and just say the hell with it. I'm gonna tell, but there's a lot of those that you finally hear, but there's probably 10 times that never say anything.
Well, yeah, because they'll lose their pension.
Yeah. And
they'll lose their retirement.
If you look at the shape of a buffalo or a bison, either one, and you look at that big hump on their back, that kind of fits in with that thing too. So
it does. This is an interesting comment. Hey, Coco, John and Coco says, what about the claws though? That's a feature that's singularly distinct from hooves. Okay, well, actually, on my second page of data, I wrote hooves. So whatever I was looking at had hooves. Okay, I think it had hooves because I actually wrote hooves down. And so the target was the Ozark Howler, but I wrote down hooves. Okay, on this. So, like we were saying earlier tonight, maybe, just maybe, there's different Ozark Howlers. They're not just one type of a being.
If you dig into some of the like going back to the Jersey Devil, if you dig into a lot of those, there's some people who say it has hooves, and there's some people who say it has more clawed type feet. So I mean, who knows?
Yeah. I have no doubt that these park rangers, a lot of them do see some of these cryptids. They are aware of them. They need to be, or they have to be. I would think. I was contacted about a year ago. I'm going to say, yeah.
They're there in its environment every single day. I would think that would be something that, when you get a job like that, and just usually when you tell somebody you believe in this stuff, you get laughed at, right? The normal, average, everyday person that get called crazy, called stupid, things like that. Well, a friend of mine that I work with, when he found out that I was a believer in Bigfoot and things like that, he never laughed. He's like, oh, that's pretty cool. Well, come to find out, he worked 4 or 5 summers as an intern ranger. Now, I have tried to get some information out of him. He won't say a word. He's like, nah. But he's gone with me. He's never balked at anything I've ever said. It's never been like, oh, you're crazy. He's just like, yeah, I guess I could see that. And I'm like, come on, man. Nah, I don't know anything. So I personally believe he's a police officer, or was. He's out of it now. I personally believe that they're in, and I don't want to use the term indoctrinated, but I believe it's like you said, kind of like a hold your pension against you or something else, because like I said, he was a summer intern, so he didn't have a pension with him, but he had to know about it, because if they do tell him, because you're not gonna put a kid out there and tell him to drive around, check all these places without saying, hey, look, you need to watch this. or if you see this, you need to turn around and get your, oh, look at the time. It's time to de-ass the area. I would think that would be something that you would have to tell people.
Well, you'd think that, but I got a call from a state park ranger. Okay, this is a state park. I'm going to do a little story time commercial break here. I got a call from a state park ranger who got in touch with me through a friend of mine, a mutual friend that he and I both have. He was telling her he was panicked, talking to her, one of his best friends, saying, we've had 9 or more Bigfoot sightings at our park, and I don't know what to do about it. Nobody's taking this seriously, is what he told her. And he was probably one of the lower men on the totem pole. Okay. And he was pretty much laughed at and like, oh, they're just seeing something different. We don't know. But he was also tasked with, he had to write up the reports and send them directly to the governor's office in Georgia. Okay. So he was having to take these reports down. He was upset that nobody was taking it seriously. And he didn't know who to talk to about it. And so he convinced me eventually. I mean, I talked to him several times. I didn't know what to make of it. And then I finally went out. I took 3 of my team members out there with me. We went and scouted it out one weekend after he said that there had been a death related to Bigfoot on the property in a cabin. And so I thought that was wild. We went in. I don't know. Okay, here's the thing. I don't know if there was a cover-up going on. Okay, I'm not going to use names. Nobody will ever know who this person is. I'm not going to say his name. I think there was a cover-up going on. And I don't know how deep it goes, because when we checked in to the coroner's office, because one of my teammates knows a coroner, okay, and they had a completely different story than what he had told us about what happened. It wasn't even the same gender of the person that died. And it was actually not an old man. It was a young woman. She had a drug overdose. It wasn't but that's not what he knew. So either he was told something wrong or something, there's something else.
That's what they told you there. That was the official news story.
Yeah.
That ain't what really happened, obviously.
I don't think so. I mean, he was legit upset about everything. Okay. And I don't know.
Yeah, and we kind of talked about the missing we didn't specifically say the missing 411, but that the missing 411 is, and I know a lot of people say that's cherry picked, but if you really look at it, yes, it is cherry picked, but that even makes it more intriguing because there are that many that fit that specific criteria that he puts out there. And that's only the people who are reported from somebody. NAM-US reports about 600,000 missing persons in the U.S. a year. Okay, that number is probably closer to 1 million because who reports the homeless people, the transient population who don't have anybody to report them?
Yeah.
Nobody reports them.
Exactly.
So if they go missing, they could have just moved on to the next town and nobody will ever know. So that number is probably closer to 1 million. So when you think about as many people get pulled from that missing 411 for those specific criteria that he pulls, that's pretty telling. That there's something going on. And DA said it the other night, and I really had never thought about it. He was like, just start thinking back in your mind about when you hear somebody's missing. Sometimes you'll hear they search for weeks and weeks. They just keep on searching. And there's sometimes they'll search for a couple of days or whatever, and they're like, he's gone.
Exactly. Why? They don't continue to search. Well, because
sometimes there's people that we talked about that because what if they have some of these things guarded and tagged and they can track them, and if it's one of the ones that they've got tracked and they know there's no chance that they're going to find anything, they're just like, oh, okay, this person just wandered off.
Yeah, search over. I know. I mean, that's why we have to be really careful about going places like national parks and just to be aware. Okay, I'm not saying don't go to national parks. Please go to national parks. Go have fun. Enjoy all this beautiful land that we have, but be careful.
Situational awareness.
Yes, absolutely. And I didn't mean to not say thank you. Smooth criminal triple OG. Thank you so much for that super sticker. That's so sweet of you. I think he's doing some gematria here. Okay, 668 according to Strong's Concordance. Leader made from wood, and 866 means no love of silver money. Who equals 866 FYI? Oh, okay. So there may be some connection there. I don't know. That's kind of cool though. Yeah, I got into that gematria stuff a while back too. So that's kind of cool.
But that's a perfect example of what it's hiding. It's hidden in plain sight. I mean,
yes.
You would have to go to those links to look that kind of stuff up. And who, besides us, like I said, us crazy people who look into this stuff, who's really going to look into that? They're going to be like, look at that numbers. They're just being stupid. But
I know everybody's on their phones and not paying attention.
How freaking wild is that? We were just talking about it. You have to be in the lumber industry, and one of the numbers is a leader made from wood. It's just when you look into this and you start. It's just like if I stop a car and I'm looking to get into the car and I see one tail in the car, that's not enough for probable cause. But when you start piling this one and this one and this one and this one and this one on, the preponderance of evidence starts piling up. So when you start adding all this stuff up, it's got to go somewhere.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it's hidden in plain sight, y'all. And just like I was saying, I feel like there's underground facilities down at the Joe Bald Rec area, and DA especially had said that he had seen potentially some air ducts and stuff that seemed to be out of place.
We found when I was with him that first time is when we found those power boxes out there, and that's a primitive case. Yeah, we were driving out. And DA looked over and he said, "What is that over there?" And I looked and I said, "Looks like those big green power boxes."
Mm-hmm.
It was a 3-phase because the cables that were going in the ground. Noah found, and I found were that big around. And I don't mean to cover my eye up like one of them Illuminati people, but it was big 3-phase cables. And
we gotta be careful what we do on here, don't we?
I know. I was sitting there talking about it. I was like, "Hey, crap, I'm doing that thing."
I know, right?
Did not mean to do that.
We are not associated with any secret societies, y'all. I promise. Yeah. Okay. Not even the Cryptid Illuminati.
But
oh my God.
But yeah, it was a primitive campsite. DA said there was nothing out there other than a little small guard shack up front that needed any power to it at any time when it was. And it's been closed for what I think 20 years. He said. So why out in the middle of this campsite? Or this camp area that's been closed down, is there a freaking 3-phase power box just sitting out there? There was no need for a transformer of that size in the first place, but the 3-phase wire was still going down into the ground.
Yeah, because there's an underground base there. There's some kind of facility going on there because I picked up on it in that remote viewing target. So, like I said, remote viewing data is subject to interpretation. Okay, but that was pretty straightforward. There was some kind of underground facility there that I picked up on. And yeah, I didn't pick up on any kind of underground facility with this Ozark Howler that I was remote viewing. But I did, I was, okay, so the last thing that I was going over with the audience and with you, Robbie, was park rangers. Oh, by the way, the park ranger in Georgia, I have not talked to him in a while. Okay, it's been a while since I talked to him. It's in the area where the Georgia Guides, the same county where the Georgia Guidestones were, by the way.
There's a lot of weird stuff around that too.
And I'm just going to leave that there. Okay. And we were there within a month or maybe 2 months, the Georgia Guidestones were demolished from us being there. I'm not going to say I had anything to do with it. I didn't have anything to do with it. But anyways, that's where it is up there. Okay. So I was picking up on, park rangers and I never felt like he was being like pulling the wool over our eyes, by the way. I thought he was telling us the truth. He was telling us the truth as he knew it. Now, somewhere along the line, something was missing, or the information got skewed, or there was a cover up. That's all. That's all. That's the conclusion of that story I was telling you. Okay. Something was covered up, or it was just total misinformation.
I mean, yes, it could have been misinformation. You got to throw that out there. That's a possibility. But what's more likely? I mean,
cover up.
Like, when you got one or two things, okay, maybe. When you start adding 4, 5, 6, 7 things, it walks like a duck, quacks like a duck, probably a duck.
Robbie, every single remote viewing target that I'm given, almost every single one that involves cryptids, the phrase cover up is in that data.
Gee, I wonder
that's how I know it's a cryptid pretty much by the end of it. I'm like, all right, cover up. All right, well, I guess we know what this one is.
I wonder why.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, just look at that I gave you, or that example that I gave you about. Sometimes they'll search for weeks and weeks and weeks and keep on searching, and then all of a sudden you'll have one and they search for a day or two, and wait a minute, you searched for 3 months about this one over here. What's the difference? Oh no, there's just no way that they can still be alive. How do you know that?
Well, probably because like at the LBL where you've been recently, I was picking up on that family that got mauled. Those things that got them were let out to feed.
I told you that I found out I was within 100 yards of that, right?
Yes, you told me. Yeah.
And
what was it? What was the energy like? What did it feel like?
About 10 times more intense than our second go round in Georgia.
Yeah.
We were. Sometimes you throw the term around, felt like we were being hunted. There was absolutely, positively no question in my mind that there was 2 or more things trying to separate one or more of us from each other.
Yeah.
There's just, when we went back the next day and saw in the daylight because when I first cut the light on and we could see the eye shine, because it was so far down the hill, it looked like it was 2 or 3 inches off the ground. We went back the next day, it was more like 2.5 to 3 feet off the ground. So whatever it was big. And it wasn't scared. It wasn't running. It just, you'd see its eyes blink. And my future son-in-law, he's not a small guy. He's 6'8", probably 270. And it was freaking him out.
Yeah.
And
oh yeah.
I was more in dad mode at that time because my baby girl was in the car, and I was in. I don't care what it is. It's gonna go through me in about 3.5 pounds of lead before it gets to my baby girl. But yeah. So I wasn't scared until, and I never really got scared. But after we got back and got in the hotel and I got in my room and I started thinking, I was like, and I started replaying our situation, and I was like, yeah, that was about 10 times more intense than what. And you and I talked about that afterwards, and we were both like, at first it was like, it wasn't. But once we started talking about it and playing it back in our minds, we started remembering things, and we started, this was a little bit different than what we had before. And we both kind of started feeling like maybe we were being pursued or hunted. So multiply that by about 10, and that's how that was in the LBL.
Yeah, there's got to be a pretty dark energy out there. I mean, that's what I would just assume, because I picked it up when I was doing that viewing. But of course, I was traveling back in time to 1982 or sometime in the early 80s. Well, but residual energy got to be there.
You've been there, right?
No, I've not been there. Not in this physical body. I have not been there.
Well, I don't know, because I don't know anything about. I mean, I know what you told me, but I've never experienced this. So let me paint the picture for you.
Okay.
When we first got there, it was about 11 o'clock in the morning, ish, somewhere around 10:45, 11 o'clock. Johnny and I were out at Demumbers Bay, and I felt like I was standing in a movie, that there was a movie going on around me. I felt like I was in a horror movie. I've said this a couple times. If Jason Voorhees had stepped out from behind one of those trees, it would not have surprised me. I really, literally would not have been surprised, because that was the feeling. It's so depressing and compressing. And when Johnny and I was talking about it, I was like, dude, is this place just like pushing you down? He said, yeah. He said, dude, there's no ducks. There was no birds flying. We could hear crows way off in the distance, like across the lake. There was like one small bird that we could hear like in our general vicinity. There were no armadillos. There were no squirrels. There were no possums, no raccoons, no nothing. All we found was fish bones scattered all along the shore. And I ain't talking like this. I'm talking like fish like this.
Yeah.
And it just, like I say, I say it, and I know it's funny, and I say it to get a laugh out of people, but I swear to God, I would not have been surprised if Jason Voorhees had stepped out from behind a tree. That's just the way that place made me feel. And it's just oppressive. It's depressing. It feels like it's
just so horrible.
It feels like it's just sucking the energy out of you.
Well, okay, here's the thing. And Barry, thank you so much. Barry's up at the Appalachia Starseed reunion. I was supposed to be there, but couldn't make it up there. So thank you, Barry. I wish I could be there too. Thanks for tuning in. Okay. There's a lot of rituals and, dare I say, magic rituals, satanic worship and stuff like that, like rituals going on at that park. And I picked up on it in all that data. Any kind of target I've ever done at that place is full of blood magic and blood, just blood and stuff. And it's not good.
Not to mention the Native American stuff that, because I know the Cherokee say that place is cursed. Because I'm part Cherokee, and I've looked into that. They say that place is cursed. And
oh yeah,
after being there, I believe it. And I called DA on the phone, and he said, "Where you at?" And I said, "I'm at Demumbers Bay." He said, "What do you think?" And I'm like, "Freaking spooky is what I think. This is just," I said, you can't, I mean, I can use all these acronyms and all this stuff, but it's just different world. I mean,
spooky.
It's just, yeah. I mean, that's a good description of it. And the thing is, I got about as much, to steal the term from DA, I'm about as, like when you say I'm as aerodynamic as a brick, that's the way I am with psychic energy and things like that. I just, me, Jessica, I'm a evidence, flesh and blood, what's in front of me, that kind of stuff. But damned if there wasn't something that just, made you stand up and take notice of, oh, okay, my head needs to be on swivel in this place.
Well, heck yeah. I've always got my head on a swivel in national parks for sure. Any kind of place like that. But I'm usually researching Bigfoot and Dogman. Okay. But and also, before I get back to the data, because I got a little bit more data to go over tonight, you got to think, okay, when they took all this land and they designated it as federal, national, state parks, county parks, whatever,
public use access,
public use. A lot of that land was taken. Okay. And there's like that, eminent domain and stuff. I mean, I don't even know how they took it. I have no idea if they paid people for it or what.
LBL. The LBL was taken in the same way. I
mean, people were mad, I'm sure. And especially a lot of the indigenous people. Okay. Their lands were taken. I got to assume that, and I don't just assume this because I've talked with William Nighthawk, has told us that, a lot of that land is sacred. I know a lot of that land is sacred. It's all sacred some way. And so the land has been cursed. Okay, it has been cursed. And entities have been conjured there to protect that land at all costs, according to William. So maybe that explains some of these cryptid sightings. Maybe that explains this cryptid that we're talking about tonight.
Well, I have always felt like that there are dogmen and there are things that like what we used to call, and I say dogman because I know that term wasn't coined until like 1998, but I believe that there's an animal, just whether it be a holdover from from a dire wolf or whatever. I believe there's something out there like that, but I also believe there's something that more akin to what we would call a werewolf. Because you think about people when they talk about their encounters with some like DA's encounter. He's like, he saw it kind of standing next to a tree. It saw that it was looking at them, and it took off running. But then you get some people who describe, demon, hellhound, it scared the ever loving daylights out of me. I believe it, like we said with those Ozark Howler, there's more than once that there may be an animal that's out there that's just an animal, but there's a lot of stuff in this world that we don't know what it is. We don't have any explanation for it, and we may never have an explanation for it. But I'm a firm believer that there's stuff out there that, and it may look like some of the stuff that we think is just a normal, natural thing. Because even the Bigfoot, because same thing, you hear some people, oh, it was a Harry and the Hendersons moment. And then you hear some people, most horror movies are children's stories compared to what they went through trying to get out and get away from these things. Yeah. And
right.
Now that I feel more is like, depending on what species and what area you're at, because the further north you go, you just listen to some of the stories that people tell Fred up in Alaska. I mean, they're not nice up there. Fred's story gets to me every time I hear him tell it. I've heard Fred tell his story 4 or 5 times on the Ex Machina, and every single time it gets me because you see it getting to Fred every time he tells it, and that's as somebody who watches people for stuff like that, I know Fred is he's reliving it every single time he tells it. And it's so visceral. I mean, because even his dogs can tell when he's reliving that thing. Because they'll come up and get right up next to him. You'll see the dog get up in his lap. I mean, unless he's in his vehicle or whatever. But I don't think there's not one type. There's not Patty Gimlin version, and that's it. There's not, just what you would look at like the Van Helsing type dogman or werewolf, and that's it. There's not. I don't think there's one type of Ozark Howler or one thing that resembles that. How many different species of black bear just black bear do we have? I think DA said it was like 19 different subspecies of black bear.
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
How many?
I thought there was a black bear.
How many different type or species of sharks are there? How many different species of whales are there? How many different species of bird are there? Does that mean an eagle and a sparrow are the exact same thing? Well, they're both birds, but they're vastly different.
I mean, just look at speaking of Dogman, I got Patrick. Thank you so much for that super sticker. Patrick from the North American Dogman Project asked if you had a chance to go to the LBL, would you? Yes, I plan to go to the LBL, Patrick. So I will be there and I will let you know how it goes. But even with the national or the North American Dogman Project, look at all these different types of dogmen. Okay, this is from their website. There's even different types of dogmen. There's different types of everything. Okay, there's so many different types, so many different variations, I guess you could say.
And too, I mean, and you can throw in some of those, you could, like, I think personally that some of the dogman types could be misidentified Gugway.
Bigfoots.
Yeah. So you can throw, who knows how many of these things are out there. I mean,
Right.
When I was at the Florida conference a couple of years ago, I heard Dr. Meldrum talk, and he was like, he felt like just in the area we were in down there around Ocala, that there was probably a population of about, I think he said 3,000 to 5,000.
Dang.
That's just 3,000 to 5,000 in Florida. I mean, and Florida's not number one in sightings.
It's like number 3.
Yeah. So I mean, and here's the thing: if you really start looking, think about Alabama, there, and where you're at. And I've even looked at there's more sightings around where I'm at than I even knew about. But you've got to look for them. They're not. It's not stuff that you can just go and get on the Googles and find like that. You got to really dig into it a lot of times. But think about it. If there's that big of a population in Florida, I don't think those 3,000 are the ones that are. I think they got a big range. Don't get me wrong. I think you're looking at about 1,200 to 2,000 mile range for something like that, because a cougar by itself has got about a 260 to 300 mile range. So if you got a clan, family group, troop, whatever you want to call them, of let's say 10, 300 miles is not. They'd starve to death within a month because they'd eat everything in. So they have to have a big range, and I think that's a lot of the reason why you see them in this area one time, and then you won't see them again for, maybe till the next season, because they move and circulate on a big area. So I mean, you're probably looking at it, anywhere from 25 to 30,000 creatures in this.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's a lot. We have a ton of Bigfoots, even in North Georgia and stuff. And there's a ton of Dogman reports. It's crazy. It's wild how much activity we have here. We just don't know the numbers. And plus, what's underground? What's going on underground in the caves and stuff too. So
I was about to say,
things we don't see.
And if you subscribe to the theory that DA and Noah and I subscribe to, that they could live a lot of their time in caves. I mean, think about the Mammoth Caves that they say now could stretch from Maine to New Mexico. That's a pretty fur piece.
Yeah, that's a lot.
And they say that they found backpacks further than any person. And Kumbo said he actually had an encounter in a cave when he was on our show the other night.
DA just says, Kubo said that on our show the other night that he estimates between 60,000 and 100,000 Bigfoot in North America alone. I'd say more than that, I think. But I don't know.
The 20K that I said, I was saying in our region where you and I are at.
The Southeast.
Georgia, North Carolina, Alabama, Florida, that because if you think about if you use, let's say, 2,000 mile range, and then you incorporate that southeastern area like we were just talking about, I would think about 20 to 30,000 individuals could comfortably live inside the southeastern area with that type of range.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, we don't know the full range. Like we can't just hook like a camera up to one of them and watch it roam like we do. People do their cats and dogs sometimes. Somebody does though. I'm convinced somebody does.
Oh yeah.
They're tracked. Okay. Speaking of which, let's get back to the park ranger data here. Okay. Cause I've got a little bit more data to go over with this Ozark Howler. Okay. So I was picking up on park rangers, alarms, bells ringing. I was hearing something about like being on high alert and something that was boxed in. I was picking up on a containment area, and I literally wrote down containment area. And I heard it's no secret. Okay. Whatever this is, it's no secret, but there was an animal. I was picking up on an animal on 4 legs. I literally heard no secret. And then I heard subspecies. So I wrote down subspecies, and then I wrote down hooves. That's where I got the hooves data. but I was getting something that was free roaming and a chimera. I wrote down combo and chimera. Okay, so a chimera is just like two different beings mixed together, right? So like it could literally be, I mean, when you look up chimera online, a lot of times you get eye colors. Okay, I know this sounds crazy, but it's like people with blue eyes and brown eyes and green eyes, and you mix two people, have a brown-eyed and a blue-eyed person, have a kid together. The kid has chimera eyes, or I don't know, whatever. I don't know how that works. Okay, I'm no scientist. I don't know about chimeras very well, but when we talk about chimeras as far as, you know, underground facilities, I pick up on this. It's in a lot of my data when we're looking at cryptids and stuff. Chimeras being created in labs comes up a lot. And to me, that sounds like genetic modification, mixing different animals together. You know, we hear about human-animal hybrids. I didn't pick up on any kind of a human-animal hybrid. I was picking up on animal hybrids, like mixing different types of animals. And the next thing I wrote underneath that was a griffin. I wrote griffin, and then I wrote Gryffindor or something. I just heard that word. I think that's from Harry Potter, maybe, or maybe I just made it up. I don't know. I wrote down Gryffindor.
Gryffindor was the name of one of them.
I wrote Dorf.
Yeah.
I didn't know what I was hearing, so I wrote Gryffindor.
My daughter was a Harry Potter freak, so I had to watch them movies forever and ever and ever. So yeah, Gryffindor is a Harry Potter thing. But Griffin, that, you know, a lot of times when somebody puts the term chimera, you'll see like a manticore or a griffin, centaurs, minotaurs, satyrs. I mean, look at Greek and Roman mythology, and they were either really creative or they saw stuff like that.
Yeah.
And call me crazy, I think they probably saw stuff like that.
Yeah, for sure. I would think so. All right, so it's Gryffindor, not Gryffindorf.
Yeah, Gryffindor.
Okay, well, that's good to know. So a griffin is like, I saw a video. I don't know if it was real. I saw a video one day, and it was like a bird with a dog body or something. It looked like a dog bird.
A griffin it's got the head of an eagle and the wings of an eagle, and it's got the body and tail of a lion. Okay.
So that's a chimera of some sort, I would think. Okay. So
like a manticore's got the head of a lion, wings of a bat, and the tail of a scorpion.
Okay. Well, that's interesting that I got that kind of data on this target. This is a blind target. Okay. And I'm picking up on a buffalo or a bison. I wrote down buffalo, but I was seeing what I thought was a bison. And then at the end of the data, I was picking up on a chimera and a griffin. Okay. And so it doesn't have to be literal. Okay. This is just what I'm looking at. Like whatever I'm remote viewing here, it's got those attributes. Okay. It's got the attributes of being a chimera and some kind of animal that's mixed with other animals. And so apparently that's what this target is. It's some kind of animal. I think there could be buffalo in it. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it's just because it looked like a buffalo.
That, like I said, that could be where the horns come from, and some of the size.
It could be. There's William. Hey, William Nighthawk. I'll send you a picture of it.
How you doing, brother?
Yeah, hey, William. Thank you, William. Yeah. So, I mean, I think the Ozark Howler is a legit being, some kind of creature, some kind of animal. It's just it's animals combined, kind of like a griffin.
And I think that's a perfect segue. That word segue. I'll get it in a minute to talk about our old boy, Daniel Boone.
Oh yeah, let's talk about Daniel Boone. That's all the data. The last bit of data, real quick, is I wrote down beware, dangerous animal. I wrote down whatever I was looking at was dangerous. So okay, let's go to Daniel Boone. Let me pull his picture up.
He supposedly shot one.
Shot an Ozark Howler.
Mm-hmm.
I thought he had shot like a Bigfoot or something. I didn't know it was an Ozark Howler. That's pretty awesome. It's pretty terrible. It's sad. Sorry, but it's kind of awesome.
let me
Same time.
pull up the story
Here's
right
Daniel
quick.
Boone. Okay, I'm gonna pull up a picture of Daniel Boone so everybody can see what he looks like. My dad just talked about Daniel Boone the other day. He gave a presentation at the local library, which was badass, by the way, about the county that I grew up in. It was about the history behind it and the ties to my family and the Revolutionary War and the Civil War and all this, all the history from when they first came here, when Georgia was a penal colony. Okay, and yes, I come from some people that I guess they got kicked out of England, I guess. And they came over here and then they started a revolution. Okay. If you can't tell, I come from revolutionaries from the Revolutionary War. Okay. So, but yeah, we talked about Daniel. I say we, it was my dad. He talked about Daniel Boone there. And you know, it was funny when he was practicing his speech, he practiced his presentation with me before he gave it. And everything that he was talking about, Robbie, I kept interjecting and I was like, Dad, did you know that Daniel Boone shot a Bigfoot? Okay. So everything my dad would say, I was like interjecting cryptids into it. And I was like, if you ever want to do a presentation with cryptids, call me and I'll come join you at the library. I got you, Dad.
Here, where was that? Basically, there was two hunting trips that he was on, and he ran into an Ozark Howler during each one of these trips, and it was basically where, surprise, surprise, it was in Missouri, in the Ozarks. Supposedly met two of these on the hunting trips, one of which is today is in the state of Missouri, and another in what is the state of Nebraska. So one was in Missouri, one was in Nebraska. Only the story from Missouri seems to have caught on as a legend here in the Ozark Hills. So basically, he shot one, and supposedly the had it stuffed and mounted, and it was supposedly in his private collection in his house, but it got missing after he died. So
convenient.
Yeah.
Wait, it was the Ozark Howler that went missing? The taxidermed?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, how do people describe it? Was there a description of it?
I think they put a description in it. Let me see.
Did it look like a buffalo? in a griffin chimera? I don't know.
The Ozark Howler is a name that has been applied to a strange creature some say roams the remote forests of the Ozark Mountains. The reports originate from a vast area that includes parts of Arkansas, Missouri, and Oklahoma. There have been many tall tales written about Daniel Boone during his lifetime. Let's see if it goes. That was just going into what I just read you a minute ago. Here you go. The Ozark Howler seems to share a likeness with another. No, I was about to tell what it was about right there, or what it looked like right there. This is just going into the story. It doesn't really. It's a good story, but it's a long one, so it doesn't. It may somewhere in the process get into what it looked like, but
I wonder how big it was. Did it say the size of it? Because we have this picture right here, Robbie. I don't know where this came from. I don't know if this was a hoax or somebody just sent this picture in. That it kind of looks like one of those, like a thylacine or something to me, but with horns, like deer horns.
I've seen that picture somewhere before. I can't remember where I've seen it. Of course, some people, there's people that say it's fake, and with AI now, who knows?
Who knows? I mean, it could be a deformed deer.
Okay, here we go. People describe a large, hairy, human-like beast that roamed the area of what is now Kentucky. So they're basically just kind of what we said: large, hairy, horns, and then there's different descriptions of different. I don't think there's one specific description that anybody can nail down.
Oh yeah, just a lot like the Jersey Devil. Okay, just yeah. But it's the general consensus is it's something big. It's got horns. It's hairy. It's fluffy, as Eric would say. fluffy. It's got a fluffy butt. It's just a stacked tank of a animal, and I think it's a mix. Potentially, there was some kind of genetic modifying going on there. Some genetic splicing, I think, would be the word.
Well, if you pull them pictures up and look at that, I mean, most people look at that thing and say, man, that thing looks like a tank, or it's built like a tank because of how big. And I mean, I can see people saying that thing is built like a freaking tank.
Look at those nails.
And, yep. And
she went to the salon before she got her picture made.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
She done got her nails did.
She got her nails did for that. She had all of her hair done.
I don't know if she got her hair did, but she got her nails did.
She got her nails did. That's yes. I don't know. I don't get my nails done ever. So I can't go chasing cryptids with fingernails and stuff. So
no. I can't get my hair did neither. So I can't get my hair grow. So I don't get my hair did either.
Yes. But wow. But yeah, the general consensus is kind of the same the way it's described. And let's talk about that howl that it does. It's got a weird howl because I've heard a lot of weird stuff in the woods. I've heard a lot of weird howls, but this one they said it sounds like a elk's bugle.
Yeah.
Okay. And a hyena too. Now hyenas are scary. You don't want to hear a cackling hyena when you're in the woods. Oh, I've never heard one.
I mean, I've never heard one in real life, but I've obviously watching documentaries and things like that. Those people out there in Africa in the plains that have caught it. And yeah, if I was out in the woods at night and heard that sound, I'd probably be like, time to go.
Yeah. I mean, I stand my ground. I like to stand out there and see what's going on. But as soon as something starts walking up on us, if I thought I was being surrounded by a pack of hyenas, I'm out of there. Sorry, I'm out of there. Coyotes are something to worry about. That's not nearly as bad as a pack of hyenas, I don't think.
A pack of coyotes gets to yipping it can it sounds pretty intimidating. Even usually coyotes will leave a grown human alone, even in a pack. They don't. Now, if you're hurt, you're laying down, and you're bleeding, you probably got something to worry about. But if you're upright, you're not usually going to have to worry about a coyote messing with you.
Okay, that's good to know for sure. Brian is here from Montauk is Strange. Hey, Brian. I've been to Montauk with Brian actually up in New York. We did some Bigfooting while we were up there, by the way, and he's saying he's still trying to get on Plum Island. Now, we do know that I'm just going to say our government does have facilities where they do make weird little chimeras and stuff, because we have Plum Island. Thank you, Brian, for reminding us of that. There's, what is that? The Plum Island monster that washed up on shore in New York.
Yep.
It looked like a dog with a beak.
Yeah, we did a show on that one. But like you said, how many? I know you were getting underground base at Joe Bald. How many times has that come up in your remote viewings? Constantly.
A lot. Well, when I'm doing when it turns out to be like a national park, usually too, it's stuff that's based out of like national parks or some kind of federal land. A lot of times, and it's even at I did a remote viewing target at some point before we went up to Montauk. I was tasked with some targets of Camp Hero. Okay, that's where they worked on the Montauk project. They've done a lot of time travel programs and experimentation and interdimensional stuff. I mean, it's what the show Stranger Things is based off of.
Yeah.
If that gives you any idea. And there's a lot of underground stuff there, but we know that for a fact because I've been there. I know that it's there. And Brian, you guys please go. Let me pull this back up. Montauk is Strange. Brian has a brand new book out that he wrote. It took him years to write this. It is the most comprehensive book on Camp Hero in Montauk and all the programs that went down there, the lay of the land. He's explored every bit of it. as much as he could get into. You guys, please go check that out. Go to Brian's Montauk is Strange on YouTube, and I'm sure he's got a link there to go buy his book. There's just a lot of black programs and black budget stuff that went on there, and it was, I don't know, it was bad. People got kidnapped to be put in those programs, including children. Okay, and we're wondering, like, where are all these missing people going out of these parks? Well, we got Montauk to show. I know Renee's in the chat tonight, and he did mention at one of my last shows, he said, well, we have to examine the past to understand what's going on today. And if we look at places like Montauk and Camp Hero, where they have done experiments, in Plum Island, where they do experiments on animals, what do you think they're doing today?
Well,
okay.
Doc found an article one time that, and we were talking about it on the show that, and I can't remember what year it was, but he found an article somewhere that was talking about the government releasing, I want to say the number was 15,000 dogmen into the Louisiana, the Atchafalaya Basin and that area to mate with the indigenous population of dogmen to see what the genetically altered ones would do when mating with the normal ones. We have to go back in the archives and look at the show to see, because that was like last year, I think, when we did that show, or maybe a year before. But it was, we actually had all the dates on the article and everything.
Yeah. Well, one of my good friends, Drew, who is with Cryptid Warfare podcast, I go dogman hunting with him. Okay, and his team. He sent me a message the other day. He asked if I could send him the article that I had talked about a while back on. It was with the Israeli news. I'll never forget it, because I think Kelly, a friend from a while back, she sent it to me. She said, if you were trying to look into the zombie bear that I saw when I was remote viewing, it was like a triple deaths out of East Tennessee with those people that got mauled to death by packs of wild dogs, they said. But when I was remote viewing these targets, I was seeing, the only way I could describe it was a zombie bear. And it was just weird. Something that wasn't like a dog man. It looked kind of like a dog man, but it looked more like a bear, but it wasn't a real bear. And she sent me this article from Israeli News, and Drew had asked me to send it to him the other day. So this is something that we need to look into more, because they were discussing a gentleman that went before Congress to ask for a funding change for a program, for a super soldier program with the military, where it had gone wrong. Something had gone wrong, where they had injected super soldiers with, they'd made them into like zombie bears. Okay. They'd basically made them into, they had injected them or changed their DNA to be like with wolves, bears, and something else. And they had dropped off all these like pairs of genetically modified humans that were super soldiers, special forces volunteers is what they said, all over the world. And two of them, guess where they had been dropped off? East Tennessee. Okay.
Well, so where we get the word berserker, right? You know where that comes from.
Yeah, it was the Vikings, right?
Yeah, bear zerker.
Mm-hmm.
They were the humans that turned into bears, or believed they turned into bears. Wolf Headnar, the wolf-headed soldiers.
Yeah, God, I just talked about the cynocephaly yesterday, and King Arthur fought like a whole tribe of like dog-headed men in Edinburgh.
There was actually an entire Roman legion that supposedly was annihilated by them. Mm-hmm. It was written, and I can't remember the name of the legionnaire that had written that they found the writing or whatever. But that was actually documented, written by a Roman legion, that they were being stalked and hunted and finally decimated by a group of cynocephali. What it was, I think that's what they called them, but it's basically a bunch of werewolves, if you want to, for lack of a better term, or dogmen, however you want to call it.
Yeah, a bunch of dogmen. That's what that was. I mean, that's what we're dealing with today, I think. But I think there's a mix too. I think there's some of them are genetically modified. I think they're lab made. I think a lot of them are natural. I mean, I don't know. They're there. They're here.
Just here in the U.S., if you look back, the sightings of Lugaroo and Rougarous and wolfmen and whatever you want to call werewolves, they were called, that goes back to the 1700s. French trappers and frontiersmen seeing these things. So obviously they were not genetically modified by the government at that point. But what's still around today and earlier, once our government started doing stuff like that, then obviously, yeah, if it's like I said, if they'll try to teach a dolphin to put a mine on a ship, or not try, but they'll do it, and they know these things are out running around, I mean, why would you not, if you've got that kind of compunction to do something like that, why would you not try to grab a Bigfoot or a Dogman or something like that, or an Ozark Howler, and try to tinker around with it and control it and make it into a weapon, a super soldier, whatever you call it. I mean, it's no stretch in my imagination.
Well, no, I mean, if they were creating super soldiers at Camp Hero with the Montauk Project too, and they were sending kids into like other dimensions, a lot of those didn't make it. They didn't survive it too, by the way. They'll do anything for science. And
it is a known fact. Everybody knows what Russia was doing, trying to make the ape soldiers. Their super soldiers were trying to mix humans and apes, and make those. So why is it so easy to say, "Oh yeah, Russia did that," but no, we do. Yeah, Bigfoot and Dogman, that's not real. People are just because our government wants us to think that they're so benevolent and they're so good, and but I know we love to look at ourselves as the good, and we as the American citizens, as the most part, are what we think we are, but our government is not, the shining light that is the good in the world like we like to think the American government is. They're as dirty and backhanded as any of the rest of them. It's just
it's for entertainment purposes only tonight. You too.
I love my country, but I'm not a fan of my country's government at times.
Yeah, I know. We have that right because we are in America. We're Americans. We can have our opinion on things, for sure. You guys, there's a link to Brian's channel there, and Brian, be sure to put your book. Oh yeah, his book's in here too. If you guys want to go check that out, Montauk. Okay, Montauk is Strange. Check it out, y'all. We do need to know about the history and what has been done. I think a lot of that's going to be in Brian's book. Okay, as far as experimentation on humans and animals goes. Okay, and to know what we have going on today, underground, in facilities. It's probably way bigger today, I'm sure, because that was back from, what is it, the 1980s and 70s, and I don't even know, 60s. I'm not even sure the dates that was operational over there. I do have a little piece of the radar tower somewhere. I should have left that sitting there. I did take a little piece of the radar. God, I should have never brought that home with me. Talk about cursed objects, man. I try not to bring like stuff that would be bad home.
Jessica,
I know. I don't know why I did that. It's probably got like radiation and all that stuff on it. Because it did come from the radar tower. If anybody wants it, maybe we'll have a raffle. And I'll raffle it off, okay, to whoever wants it. Okay, I do have a handful of the radar tower in my house somewhere. If anybody wants it. So yeah, I'm not trying to profit off of that, but I'm just saying I'd rather not have it. So, but yeah. But anyways, this Ozark Howler could very well be some sort of, let's just say, an experiment. Even though I did pick up the data did say it was organic. Okay, it was organic, but that just means maybe it wasn't a robot or something, for all I know. However you want to interpret that data, but it was some kind of natural organic animal. Maybe it's just something that we've never seen. it's just not on record like Bigfoot, like Sasquatch. Maybe it's just not in the directory of things that are being acknowledged by our scientists publicly. See, I kept having to go with that. Like, not recognized publicly by scientists. Yeah. But yeah, nonetheless, it's a cool cryptid though. It's a very cool cryptid. I mean, I don't know. To me, it sounds like a buffalo.
Well, I think that a lot of the stuff that you've said tonight, it like you said, open to interpretation, and you say this, and I say, oh well, yeah, look at the horns. That's probably why you got buffalo, or the size. That's why you got buffalo. I know that's an interpretation thing.
It is,
but if you just look at most all the renderings of this thing, there's not too many of it where it's a little small, feeble. It's always really pretty big, tanky thing that
stacked.
Yeah, stacked. So it lends credence to what you're the terms that you bring up, because if you had those terms and most every one of them, it was like a little small weasel with, or looked like a mouse with the antler stapled onto it, like in that old Bill Murray movie. I mean, okay, maybe it's, but most every drawing and most every encounter, it talks about how big it is. So,
yeah, they're all big except for that picture of that little tiny one that I showed earlier. I don't know. Maybe it was a baby.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that was a hoax one. I don't think that was a
looks like a dog.
Yeah, I don't think that's a true representation of an Ozark Howler.
It actually kind of looks like a dog with those antlers for Christmas on its head.
Yeah.
Like you can get those at the pet store.
Yep.
Over Christmas. So it kind of looks like that, but I mean, who knows? It kind of looks like a rat terrier. Okay. Maybe a rat terrier would be a good word. A good breed. What that could be right there. I don't know. I didn't remote view that little thing, so I don't know what that is. Yeah. But it does come up whenever people are, whenever you do a search on the Ozark Howler, that picture does come up. And I do think that from what I can remember, I think that was deemed a hoax. Okay.
Well, but there again, if you're in certain things that, or places or agencies or organizations that are trying to subvert that, I mean, that's a perfect one to put in as in one of the search engines that you probably control when people are looking this stuff up.
Oh yeah, for sure.
It's hiding in plain sight again.
The jackalope. Somebody said the jackalope. It goes jackalope antlered rabbit. I think it's like a wire-haired, some kind of rat terrier or something. But there's no telling. But the way that the Ozark Howler is described, it does not look like that little dog with the antlers, because it's too big, unless it's a baby. So, but nonetheless, people are having these experiences. I have a list here of people who have experienced this. There's been a lot of sightings of this Ozark Howler. And I didn't even get into like the history of it and stuff. But from around 2014 to 2018, there were 5 or 6 sightings of the Ozark Howler that are documented. Okay, but that's odd because it's like, I don't think people are seeing it now. It's 2024. And the only sightings that I found were from 2014 to 2018. 1, 2, 3. There were 5 sightings. So I'll go through them real quick. In October 2014, a motorist in Benton County, Arkansas, this is Arkansas, reported that he nearly collided with an unidentified animal in Springdale. He described it as bear-sized, gray, fast-running, and it had horns. In 2015, a viewer sent photos in to 4029 News in Arkansas, claiming they showed images of the Ozark Howler near Devil's Den State Park. Ooh, whenever there's a place called Devil's Den, you got to wonder why it's named that, right, Robbie?
I was just about to say, me and Johnny were talking about that on one of our shows, and Johnny said, you never hear about this stuff at Cupcake Holler or, Maple Syrup Mountain. It's always places like Devil's Den. And we were talking about that because, when we were up, I told you about when we were up in LBL, and supposedly somebody was getting paced, and a father and daughter supposedly went missing and all that stuff. We took off to try to go help, and we got called off. It was at Devil's Bend, Devil's Fork, something like that. You never hear these nice, frilly names for these places. They're giving these names for a reason.
That's right. Yeah. Okay. So Adolf lives in California. Okay, he's out in California, and he says there's been reports from a fisherman that saw a howler. It was laying down in the dry grass with a herd of deer. The deer ran off. The howler was a lot bigger than the deer. It walked away from the deer, and he says along the Kings River, not far from where he saw the Dogman. Now that is out west. That's out west. So potentially there could be howlers all over the place, but they're just being reported more in the Ozark area. So that's very interesting. Thank you, Adolf. So let's see. Let's go back to these. I guess I got 3 more sightings. So in June of 2016, a group of friends were camping in Oklahoma. They claimed they heard loud howls. They saw glowing eyes in the dark. They also found large paw prints and scratch marks on their car. That could have been anything, though. Okay. That could have totally been anything. Oh, the second one that I did mention, or the guy that reported the news station about Devil's Den, said that he had a picture and it showed an animal with horns and red eyes that was hiding behind a tree. So that distinguishes that one where it could have been the Ozark Howler.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. The next one was in 2017. There was a couple hiking in Missouri at Branson, wherever Branson is. Okay. And they saw a large black animal with horns. Yeah, they saw a big, large black animal with horns crossing the road. They said it looked like a cross between a bear and a goat. That sounds like the Ozark Howler, because it does sound kind of like a goat. And good Lord, we have a lot of goat man sightings, Robbie. There's goat man sightings all over the place.
What's the one in Texas? The Lake Worth monster. A lot of people say, that's another one that there's multiple descriptions of what it looks like, but Goatman is one of the descriptions about the Lake Worth monster.
Oh yeah. Well, and the Jersey Devil, even. I mean, we have Goatmen all over the place. Yeah, we have Goatmen in Georgia too. Okay, the last report that I have was from October 2018. A Texas hunter shot and unalived an animal that he believed was the Ozark Howler near Big Thicket National Preserve. He said it had black fur horns, fangs, and red eyes. He took photos of the animal and sent them to a local newspaper, but I don't have those photos. So I don't know where those photos.
There's a lot of strange stuff goes on in the Big Thicket area too.
Yeah. Big Thicket. Is that, I've never heard of Big Thicket. That's
in Texas. It's a national park in Texas.
Okay.
Imagine that.
Everything's bigger in Texas, isn't it?
Yeah, but it's a national park. Imagine that. There's a lot of Bigfoot activity, a lot of Dogman activity. Matter of fact, if you watch Small Town Monsters, their Dogman Triangle, they talk a lot about the Big Thicket area in Texas. That's part of the triangle.
Wow. Okay, well, I'm gonna have to look into that next time I go to Texas. Maybe I'll go hit it up at some point. And
I drove by it. I think I drove by it when I left to come home when I was down there. And there again, it's one of those places that I need to go there.
I need to go there, but I don't want to spend the night there by myself in a tent in the middle of nowhere where I have to hike in. Okay. Oh, by the way, so in this article that I have right here, people are kind of like talking about what this Ozark Howler could be. And a lot of people think that it is a crossbreed between several different animals, but like, is that even possible? Okay, like I was just watching the other day. I mean, I mean by natural terms, like not genetic splicing. I mean like if two animals mate in nature.
Or is it just an undiscovered animal that?
Yeah, I think it's more of that personally. But I don't know because I came up with chimera in the data.
Or it's been discovered. It's been discovered by the government, and the government's no, that doesn't exist. Pay no attention to the man behind the curtain over here.
Yeah. I don't know. I on Instagram and all those social media sites and TikTok, you see a lot of weird videos, and I was seeing a video of a rabbit that was like humping a cat. God, I don't know. I shouldn't bring this up really, but then I think it had babies that look like rabbit cat hybrids. And I didn't think that was possible. I didn't think they could do that. Maybe they were just deformed, but they look like they were rabbit cat hybrids.
Well, but now think about what was that the Russian wild woman that what was that thing's name? There was supposedly it was kind of like a Sasquatch type female that.
Zana?
Yeah, Zana, I think is how
Zana or Zana. Yeah. That's a sad story.
Yeah, but that's supposedly mating with a lot of the guys in the village, and they had to end up taking the children away because she would take them down to the river and dunk them in the river to wash them, and was ended up killing them because they didn't come out with the hairy genes, I guess is the best way to put it. But who knows if that story is 100% true or not, but that's a story that's out there. So
yeah. John says, Cabot is a cat with unusually long hind legs. That's probably what I was seeing then. That's probably what they showed. And it was probably like a meme. And I just didn't know any better. And it was a weird looking cat though. His hind legs were super long. It looked like a frog kind of.
I actually had a friend that he had one of those Maine Coon tabbies.
Oh yeah, I had one of those.
Actually believed that it was a cross between a cat and a raccoon. He literally 100% believed that cat's mama was a cat and its dad was a raccoon, or vice versa. And you could not get him to believe that.
Oh my gosh, could it be? Have you seen the pictures and the video of the cats and the dogs that have human faces?
Oh, they look like their owners. Yeah, I've seen those.
They look like human faces, and people say, "Oh, they're skinwalkers." I kind of feel bad for the cats and the dogs because they get chastised for looking human, but they can't help how they look. I don't think they're real skinwalkers. They wouldn't be sitting there on your couch, I don't think, if they were a skinwalker. Yeah.
I don't think just an animal that's there. And if William's still in there, he can chime in. He knows a lot more about that than I do. But I think a true skinwalker I don't think that's something that's just going to be hanging around somebody's house and just because
waiting for a treat.
Yeah. That's not
me neither. Y'all be nice to your animals that look like humans, please. They can't help it. I
can't stand Hollywood and how they like you got that werewolf movie that they call Skinwalkers. Skinwalker is not a werewolf. It may choose to look something like what a werewolf is, but that's not a skinwalker. I mean, it drives me up the wall that they try to lump all this stuff into one category, and it's just, I don't know. That's soapbox. I'm not going to jump on.
And once you start diving deep into all the stuff that we talk about, it's so much more, I want to say, complicated, and than you could ever imagine. And it goes a lot deeper, and there's secret societies for the lumberjacks. Okay. Secret societies for the lumberjack, or a secret society for lumberjacks. Do you think that they're still still having meetings, and they still are in, what do you call it, function today?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. 100%.
They're secret though. We wouldn't know, right?
Yeah. Well, they're hiding in plain sight. I mean, masquerading is a stupid, goofy little thing that is nothing but for nothing but snooty rich people that most people, like I said, are not going to think twice about.
Yeah, with that funny name, the International Concatenated Order of Hoo-Hoo, of Hoo-Hoo Incorporated.
Yeah, I mean, honestly,
it just sounds wild.
If you were not into this stuff like we are, and you just came across that, people would look. Most normal people would look at that and say, "What in the crap?" and wouldn't even look into it to even think about what it is, or even try to figure out what it is. They would just say, that's something stupid.
It's the Hoo-Hoo. The Hoo-Hoo. It's Dr. Seuss. It's Dr. Seuss's group, but it was founded in 1892, shortly after the Civil War happened and Reconstruction was going on, right? And this fella right here was, I guess, making a lot of lands, millions of acres of lands across the United States into federal national parks.
88 million of them.
88 million acres. Now, was it 88 million back then, or has it acquired the 88 million since then?
That's what the number is now. I don't know what I don't know if that's the original number, and I would assume that it's grown. That's just
it definitely has. I know. Listen, if my family sold hundreds of thousands of acres of land to the government, unfortunately. Yeah. I wish they had not done that, but they did. When we did the
show, that was the number, because we wanted to know what the number was as of us doing the show, and that was what the number was. So I don't know. I'm assuming it was probably smaller than that at the time that it was put aside. But that right there is telling in my book, because if they've added to it,
yeah,
maybe they've added to it because they've had to hide a couple more underground bases, because there's a satellite imagery, and we actually showed it on that show, that you can look at it and it looks like you can see stuff that's outlined where if you dig something up, put something down, and then you put dirt back over it, it doesn't grow back exactly the way it'll grow around the lines of whatever building or thing that you've buried. There's actually satellite footage, and I think DA pulled it off Google Earth.
Whoa, that's really cool.
Yeah,
that's very cool, and I'm not surprised at all, one bit. Lawana has an interesting point. The Hoo-Hoo sounds like an Ishkatini. Now, I would not know what Ishkatini was, other than one of my favorite friends, John Vendeventer, wrote a book called The Ishkatini, and it's about I don't want to say the word too much, the S-Walker. Okay, the S-Walker that is an owl. I think it's like an owl skinwalker. So interesting point. It sounds like a hoo. That's what owls make. They make the noise like a hoo, a hoot. And Adolf says, Skinwalker live alone, away from everybody, but will pop up when you least expect it. Hopefully not in your house, sitting on your couch, waiting for a doggy treat. Okay.
If I got any questions about those things, I always defer to William. He's the authority on that stuff. In my book, anyway.
Oh yeah. William's my go-to as well. Don says Teddy Roosevelt dedicated the northern entrance of Yellowstone in the early 1900s. Nice fun fact there. Yeah, have you seen Yellowstone lately with the geysers that are exploding? And I've been seeing videos of cracks in the ground. And
how long have they been talking about that super volcano that's underneath Yellowstone?
Mm-hmm.
Because they said if that thing goes, I think 10 or 20 times more destructive than Mount St. Helens.
Super volcano. That's not good.
No.
Yeah, it looks like a fault line might be kind of opening up out there too. So, yeah, I don't hear about it too much on the news. I've been seeing more of it on my trusted news source, TikTok.
Oh yeah.
Okay. or Instagram.
It's just trusted as the others.
Yeah, exactly. It is at this point, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And YouTube channels and Rumble channels and stuff, it's a little more trusted these days than some of those major media sites. So I I don't know. Well, we're just having a lot of fun over here and putting out some information of our own, and it's all for entertainment purposes only. Okay, so don't listen to us, y'all. But we're just here to entertain. You're not, you guys are, hopefully everybody's entertained. We've had a good crowd tonight, and had some wonderful comments from everybody. This has been a lot of fun. Yeah, I was going to say, I will say we do, the government is still acquiring a lot of federal land, though. I know that for a fact. They didn't just start out 88 million acres of land. They keep acquiring it, because I know my family did, unfortunately, sell a bunch of land to them about 10 years ago. So they're still taking it. They're still taking it, buying it for cheap too, buying it for real cheap off of people. And
it's real cheap when you just take it.
Exactly. I know. So
it'll be much cheaper than that. And that's how they got, like I said, that's how they got the LBL, eminent domain.
Mm-hmm.
Get out.
Yes. Okay. So do you think, Robbie, your opinion, do you think that a lot of that land, most of it was taken to preserve and protect the Sasquatch and the cryptids that are out there? What do you think?
Oh, I think that's a big part of it. And I think a lot of it was for like the experimentation and things like the hide. Because what can you hide in 88 million acres? A lot.
Underground bases?
Yeah, I mean, you could think about it. You could hide an entire civilization down there. Because like I said, there's countries in this world that aren't as big as 88 million acres. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, if you're going to jump down that rabbit hole, you might as well jump down with both feet and spread your legs.
Well, we're down the rabbit hole, that's for sure. Oh my gosh. Amy said that we're a bunch of hoo-hoos, and then Colleen says it's better than being a bunch of hoo-haws. God. Oh my gosh. Tell me we don't have fun over here. But yeah, there's just there's whole underground cities. Talking about that, I mean, we've discussed the Grand Canyon before. That's in a national park, and we have ancient Egyptian settlements that have been found there, and lizard people cities and giants.
Well, and when I'm not speaking of like how the movie, the new King Kong Godzilla movie talks about Hollow Earth. But when I say Hollow Earth, I'm thinking like layers. It's more like a honeycomb type thing. These caves go down and then they'll open up into big subterranean caverns. But you think about it. The crust of the earth is thousands of miles thick. But that's just like barely scratching the surface of how big the entire planet is. How much space could be inside the earth that we don't even know about? Because that's the thing about going and exploring these caves. It's not like going out into a jungle or somewhere like that where you can get supplies airdropped and all this stuff. You have to pack all this stuff in. So you can only make it so far before you have to turn around and get more supplies to go back in and refortify and push further. It takes weeks and months to explore stuff like that. That's why the Mammoth Cave, they say it's probably only been like 2% of it explored. That is, I mean, that's just mind-numbing when you think about if this cave really does stretch from Maine to New Mexico, and there's only 2% of it that's been explored.
I mean, that's where people are allowed to go.
Yeah, that's like walking. But that's like walking in the door of your house and saying, "Oh, I'm home," and closing the door and sleeping on the porch.
Right. Well, maybe it's just off limits, and people aren't allowed to go down there.
I just think it's so hard to actually explore these caves and map these caves and go into these caves because of like what I said. You can only carry so much stuff, then you have to set it down, set it up, walk your butt back out, get some more, come back, reset, move further. But it's a constant thing of getting your supplies in, and somebody's got to be constantly moving this way while somebody's constantly going back this way to get stuff. And there's got to be somebody in the middle. I mean, it's like if you watch on any of the Discovery Channel with the ants, you see the conveyor belt, the ants going this way and that way and everything. That's pretty much what it would be like if you're wanting to really explore these caves, because you got to have that.
Yeah, I do not like caves.
No.
I'm not a huge fan of exploring caves. I did that up in Tennessee, and one of the guys that was with us, the guys went far back in the cave, and I didn't squeeze through the little crevices like they did, and so I protected the opening of the cave, made sure nothing came in while they were back there. And one of the guys whistled. Robbie, he whistled back there because there was something peeking around the corner and they wanted to see it. They were trying to figure out what it was, like up ahead. And he whistled, and guess what? They got a video of it. It looked like a pale crawler in the cave. Yeah.
Well, number one, I'm too fat to go crawling around in the cave because my butt's going to get stuck somewhere and they'll have to call a tow truck to pull me out.
It's not fun.
No.
Yeah. I get claustrophobic. Yeah, no, I ain't no cave. What do you call him? Spelunker. Yeah, a spelunker or a caver. It's not my thing. I like going in there, but it was just the mud was so thick on the ground that our shoes were sticking to it. And if there were there were like 8 or 9 or 10 of us in there, and if we had to run from something charging at us from the other end, we would not have made it out of there because our feet were stuck. So bad. We would have made it out of there. We would have found a way to make it out of there, I'm sure. But it would have sucked really bad. So, but anyways, yeah. I don't know. I don't know. There's so much we could talk about tonight, and I think we covered the Ozark Howler pretty darn good tonight. And I think they're out there. They're definitely out there, Robbie. Definitely out there.
100%. I mean, you can't really put yourself out there like we do if you don't 100% believe that something is out there. And I know what I believe. You know what you believe. Everybody that's in the audience knows what they believe. But nobody knows for sure what it really is or what they really are. Or, you see, or you hear rather, people's descriptions and things like that. I know what I saw when I was a kid. And I know what it looked like. And it looked like pretty much like what you see the Patty Gimlin version look like. And I'm glad I saw it when I was as young as I was, and I saw that type, because had I seen something like a Gugway, might have, I always say it's a paradigm shift when you finally realize these things are real, because it's always like, okay, if that's real, what else is real? And it's a switch that it's a light switch that gets turned on that can never get turned back off. Because, Steve had that moment when we were in Missouri, when we found all that stuff in the tree, the deer hide and all that stuff. Steve had that moment where he got punched in the mouth, and to Steve's credit, he got back up and kept on going. He wasn't comfortable with it, because Steve, you've seen the show. I'm sure you've been on the time when Steve says, "Hey, I'm the agnostic of the group. I'm not saying these things are not out there, but I want to see the proof. I want to see I want to see some evidence." Jessica, that night when Steve saw that deer hide hanging in the tree, Steve's a nurse. Steve's seen a lot of stuff in the ER. He's seen a lot of stuff that most people do not want to see in their life. And I know Steve, and I know Steve's brain was working of, okay, I'm looking at this, and I'm trying to logically reason out what happened to that deer carcass. And he said, the best thing he could come up with was it looks like an alligator got a hold of that and did a death roll on it and completely, as we like to say, mechanically separated it from the rest of the deer hide. He's like, I cannot reason in my mind, number one, what did that? Number two, what was able to put it 7.5 feet off the ground, about 2 feet above his head, because Steve's about 6 foot, 6'1", and it was about 7.5, maybe 8 feet off the ground. And the tree was about that big around, so there ain't no mountain lion going to climb a small tree like that. The limbs that were hung on were like that big around, so the limbs wouldn't even supported a big cat. So he's like, and it was way higher than any wolf or coyote could have put it up there. Number one, and number two, the two limbs were like on the opposite sides of that tree. So the only thing other than a cryptid would have possibly been a black bear. But if a black bear's got the deer hide in his mouth, how's it going to hit around these two outside points that are probably that far? This is all Steve's reasoning in his mind, and he can't come to any other logical conclusion other than, oh crap, it has to be something like that. It has to be a Bigfoot. It has to be a Dogman. There's no other logical conclusion that I can come to in my mind. And he hit that paradigm shift that night. It was because he looked at me and he was like, after he threw a few expletives my way for me being the one that found it, he was like, okay, you remember what I told you on the show? I'm like, yes, Steve. He's like, screw that. I don't need to see a body. I don't need to see that. He said, I'm good. I'm good. But you get to that spot, and once you hit that spot, it's like, okay, it's all or nothing, because you can't gradually sit there and say, oh yeah, Bigfoot exists, but oh well, there's no way that this could exist. Or there's no way that could exist. Like I've had people that I worked with in the past, like, well, I believe in ghosts, but you're stupid for believing in Bigfoot. How can you say you believe in ghosts, but you don't believe in Bigfoot? I don't see how some people's minds work. I don't get it. Mm-hmm. If you're open to something like that existing, how can you be closed-minded this existing? Like, I've never seen a ghost, but I 100% believe they're possible. I'd never seen orbs before until I was at the LBL a couple months ago, whatever it was.
Yeah, that's how I got into Bigfooting, Robbie, was I knew that I'd seen ghosts. I had been watching UFOs since I was a kid. I knew there was other stuff out there. I knew it was real because I had seen it and I'd experienced it before. And so I was like, well, if this is real, Bigfoot's real. And I want to go see it for myself.
Yeah.
Here I am.
If I know this is, and that's the question that I asked myself from the time that I was 8 years old and had my encounter. When I saw, my stepdad didn't believe me at first. My mom still really doesn't believe me. My brother doesn't believe me. My stepdad's really the only one that believes me. Now, my real dad's like, yeah, I'm not saying you did or you didn't see it. He just says, there's plenty of things out there that could have happened. But my stepdad, who was a police officer, was like, in 40 plus years, your story has not changed one bit. He said, from being a police officer for 40 plus years, there's no way you kept that story straight 40 years, remembered what he said. You saw what you saw. He said there's too much evidence out there, number one, that proves it. But when I saw what I saw, and I came to grips with what it was, and I said, okay, these things that I've seen, because at that point, the only time I'd ever seen Bigfoot was, other than the truck, was Andre the Giant playing Bigfoot on the $6 Million Man. That was or In Search Of, with Leonard Nimoy. That was all because you couldn't get on the internet. You know how it was back then. You couldn't get on the internet and pull this stuff up and learn about it. You just were like, you were relegated to going to the library and pulling a book about it and reading it, or hopefully catching In Search Of or something, something like that. So it was just one of those things that you either had to get out there and look for, or go into the library and do your research. But the question I always asked myself was, okay, if that's real, what else is real? What else could be out there?
Yeah. I just had a thought too. We're talking about these national forests. there's a lot of stuff going on in these national forests. Okay. And Andrew, Gnomes and Trucking Express, said that he spent the other night at a truck stop next to the LBL and up in Kentucky. There's so much going on underneath these places. Okay. And there's so much cryptid activity there. I have come across places that have what I believe to be like large hadron colliders around the United States too. And I think there could be some of these facilities at some of these national parks. I've been told that there are large hadron colliders like CERN all over the country. We have at least 30, maybe way more in the United States. It's not just CERN in Switzerland. They're everywhere. Is what I've been told. And if that's the case, that could be, if they're located in national parks, I don't know, but could be. Why wouldn't they be?
Did I tell you that while we were out there in the LBL and when we were doing our, Johnny and I remote or came in live from LBL when we were out there to DAX Machina, we started having all kinds of issues. I mean, for 30 minutes before the show, we're talking just like you and I are talking. Everything's fine. Show goes on the air. Me and Johnny die out just like that. Tyler had a 78% charge on his laptop. And it just died. We ended up having to run a drop cord from Greg's vehicle and plug it in that way to keep a constant power source. Weird. So when we finally get back on, we start looking into it. There's 3 ley lines that converge at LBL.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah. So basically, it's a vortex.
Yeah. Yeah, we got to start paying more attention to ley lines, everybody, especially when it comes to cryptids and the burial mounds. Okay, Native American mounds and stuff too. They're all on ley lines. Okay, like a lot of these things are on ley lines. I'm not saying all of them are. I think they are, but I haven't done all my research on that. But yes, ley lines are connecting. I mean, we have ley lines. I was sent a ley line map by my friend Tracy, who is she was traveling the entire country, mapping out Indian burial mounds all over the country and then connecting them with the ley lines, like actually plotting out ley lines, driving to each place, plotting ley lines. Okay. And yeah, there's a story behind that. I'm not going to get into it tonight, but it's all connected. And the map, those ley lines went right through all the places that I research. And so actually she, because I don't give the locations of like where we research away. Like we're still doing research there. So I've been asked, we don't discuss the locations. And, but with her, she knew that of a couple of the places I go research. And so I was actually kind of helped her plot out some of those maps by some of the places where we have all that activity going on. She already knew of some of the places, but some of the other places she was able to plot out more ley lines actually. Through some of the research that I've done. So really cool stuff we got going on out there. And Brian's saying that there's a large hadron collider near Chicago, one at Oak Ridge. Oak Ridge is in East Tennessee. That's where Oak Ridge Labs is located, where they did work on the Manhattan Project there. For those of you who are familiar with the Manhattan Project and the nuclear bombs, atomic bombs. So that's going on right under our noses in the mountains. So there's no telling what's going on in the Ozark Mountains too. There could be portals opening up and weird creatures like the Ozark Howler could be coming through, Robbie.
Yeah.
Could be. Yeah. It's just more to add to the list of weird stuff we get to talk about on air. Okay. Yeah.
Like I said, Missouri has never disappointed. Every time I go there, there's something weird. LBL did not disappoint. And Georgia has never disappointed. Every time I've gone out with you, we've had some kind of encounter or something. There's places out there, and I've heard Spencer from Woodwalker say it, that around where Greg House lives, which is about 50 miles from where Coonbo lives, he said that place is just, in Spencer's estimation, he said that is the Squatch capital of the Southeast. He said, because there's just so, of course they call them boogers, but that's one of those colloquial terms that, but yeah, he's had some hair raising experiences. If you ever get Greg on here and get him to talking and hear some of those, he's been bluff charged more times than a lot of people have ever even been in the woods themselves. I mean, he's got, they come up around he built himself a little, he calls it a man cave, a little cabin that's about 7 miles away from his house. And they just come up. He was having a conversation. You know River Morris, right? From Australia.
No, I don't think so. Maybe I do. I don't think so.
Jeff Garrington, Greg, and River are having a conversation, a video chat, and he's got I think he said it's a 50-pound propane tank out behind his cave. He said they're sitting there talking about 1, 2 in the morning, something like that. And he said something hit that thing. It rang it like a church bell. He said River could actually hear it on the video chat. He was like, "What was that?" He said something just smacked my propane tank out there. He said he went out there the next day. There was not a rock. There was not a free limb. Nothing.
Oh my God.
So, yeah, he said some, and Misty, the other one that's on the show with him, she went down there and she said she experienced infrasound. Said she was, and possibly telepathy. Donnie.
Hey, Donnie.
My boy Donnie, love you too, brother. But she said that she was in because I think he's got like 3 or 4 bedrooms, maybe more, that he built in this place. So he said, "Yeah, you can go up in that with Misty." So she goes up there, start putting her stuff in, and she started feeling sick. I mean, just like sick to her stomach, gonna throw up. And she said that she was like, "Okay, I know you're there. You got me. I'm scared. That's okay. Please stop now." And she said, and it stopped. But Greg says that they'll a lot of times they'll start showing out when Misty and her sister and a couple others will come up there. So we're gonna go over there one of these days, me and DA, and see if we can get into some stuff.
Oh man, yeah, you should totally go there. That's awesome. Sovereign Cosmic Wildman says, "I've seen a Sasquatch get on all fours and crawl like a spider on a building rooftop. When it looked at me, it froze and slowly rolled its shoulders backwards and out of view. I caught him." Ooh, a spider crawling Bigfoot would be one of the most weird things to see ever, for sure.
Nightmare fuel.
Do what?
I said nightmare
fuel. That's right. Well, Robbie, speaking of I was going to say nightmare fuel. What doesn't DA have a book called Nightmare or something? I can't remember the name. Nightmare. Yeah. Tell the audience. I mean, I was thinking like how we need to probably wrap it up. This is one of the longest shows I've done in a long time. 2.5 hours, man. We have gone. We could talk forever, Robbie.
Oh yeah.
We really could. But I know you got to work tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm good. You want me to tell them about DA's books and the show?
Yes, absolutely. Okay. Tell everybody about your podcast and DA's books and everything. Whatever you feel like talking about. Okay. Yes. Thank you.
My show is What's Really Out There, and I've seen it's been rolling in the chat. It's pre-recorded. My buddy Johnny and I do that. But you can see me every Wednesday and Thursday night on DA Ex Machina. I co-host with DA Roberts, and DA's got 30 books in print now. There is Ragnarok Rising series, which is more of a zombie apocalypse type series. There is the Lakeview Man series, the Apex Predator series, and the Wild Hunt series, and now the Dark Frontier series. And he has started on the Heart of Iron series, and we've got one futuristic, which is called Man's Marauders. All these books are interconnected in the same universe. You may have a character from one book that shows up in another book. You may have 4 or 5. How he keeps up with it, I'll never know. But if you like this kind of stuff, Doc and I love to call him the Tom Clancy of cryptids. If you like this kind of stuff, you will love DA's books. That's how DA and I met and became best friends. And Doc is, I was reading the first Wild Hunt book, Odin's Call, and there was one line in the book that reminded me of my encounter. He was talking about it swaying back and forth like that, which the one that was looking in the door at me was doing. I read that, and I had suppressed this for years because, you didn't want to be labeled an idiot or a crazy or any of this kind of stuff. But I read that line, it brought everything back to me. So I sent DA an email asking him what the next book I should read in the series, and one email turned into 12, which turned into 20, which turned into end up me being one of his co-hosts, which is I probably never would have met Jessica and been on the show had I not met DA. So reading that book changed my life. To not sound corny, but
one little book, man. Yeah. Reading one book.
If you like these kind of books, there's the DA verse, and we used to tell people to start out with Apex Predator, which is great. But if you want to really, even though these books are coming out later, you can really start with the Dark Frontier series. You probably, if you know any of us, you'll probably notice some people, you'll notice some characters in there that you probably recognize.
Robbie, you're one of them.
Yeah, me, Doc, Steve. He based the entire cast of the Dark Frontiers is based on the co-hosts and a few outside. But there's other people that you'll probably recognize too. That if you're in the chat on our show, you'll recognize some of them. You hear us talk. He
made you like Chuck Norris, didn't he? Robbie Chuck Norris.
No, my character, and see, I don't want to spoil anything, but
I can just see you as being Chuck Norris in a book. I don't know.
Technically, right now, I'm 2 different characters, but that may or may not change. You just got to read the books to find out. So, but yeah, go check them out on DA Roberts at DARobertsauthor.com or
net. I think it's DARoberts.net.
Yeah, right. I'm sorry, .net.
Yes, I've typed it out several times. I know it. Yes. So y'all go check that out.
Yep. DA Roberts author at DARoberts.net. And there's actually a link to the DA verse. Will tell you, and I don't know if how long it's been since it got updated, but it'll tell you all the books that are in print right now. Recently just got Cry the Wendigo, which is the 3rd book in the Dark Frontier series, was #1 on Amazon's Cryptid horror, and in Western horror, the first 2 books were #1 for like several months each. So
very good. Congrats to DA on that.
Yeah,
you're like his biggest promoter. I love it. I love how you guys support each other. That's so freaking amazing. You guys are awesome.
Yeah, he's my brother. And so's Doc. There again.
And he's got his Dark Angel Medical stuff, right? I knew you were going with that.
DarkAngelMedical.com. His kits ain't cheap, but neither is your life. How much you want to pay for your life?
Oh yeah, I carry I don't have a Dark Angel Medical bag yet, okay, because I've got my own. I've had one for a while and I have to change it out. I mean, I have to change out my stuff because some of that stuff will expire.
Well, see there, and here's the kicker about Doc's is if you have to use any of his kits to save a life, even your own, even your pet, you return it. It's called a kit for life guarantee. You return the unused portion of Doc, he'll replace it for free.
Well, that's worth it.
Kit for life guarantee.
Because I mean, the equipment's not cheap. Even if you buy it separate, it's still not cheap. But what's it worth when it's going to save your life? You know what I mean? invest. Everybody should have a medical kit. Everybody with trauma care in it. Okay, everybody should. I have one.
Well,
I carry it with me everywhere I go.
Jessica, I'll tell you, since we normally say, I won't tell it in the chat, but if you use code Cryptid20, you can get yourself 20% off of any Dark Angel product that you use. So write that down.
Yeah, y'all go check that out, please. Definitely do. But y'all definitely get a trauma pack. We're living in crazy times. Okay, yeah. Everybody needs something especially something to stop blood clotting. Okay, yep. Stuff.
And remember,
that's important. Number one.
Seal the box, pack the junction, tourniquet the extremities.
Yes. Yeah. Get a sucking chest wound cover too, everybody, just in case. I know. I know random stuff here, but like I said, in these days and times, we need to know.
Funny enough, Dark Angel Medical offers classes that you can either take online or in person.
Yeah. Yeah. I highly recommend everybody take some medic classes too. I've taken them. Especially if you're out in the woods, okay? Because yes, Chicky Blue, accidents can happen quick. That's right. Things happen fast. Quick clot, yes, Brian, I saw that. Quick clot, that's a good one. But yeah, and you have your own company as well too, where you're doing your laser prints.
Lone Wolf
Tell the audience about that.
See all that, which is kind of hard to see those back there behind me, but I do all kinds of stuff like slate coasters,
mirrors. I got a mirror. You
mirrors, canvas.
Yeah.
There's the other. This is from the Dark Frontier series, and that's my character's name in the Dark Frontier series. That's the
Jed. It's not Chuck Norris. No. I'm just kidding. Jed.
No.
We know to look out for you.
Yep.
I love that.
And I've just started doing challenge coins on there now. I can like these are some of our Scallywag tactical knives we've got. I don't know if you can see that engraving I did on that. So
is it Lone Wolf Customs?
Lone Wolf.
Put it on here?
Yep.
Lone Wolf. Is it Lone Wolf at Lone Wolf Customs?
The Instagram channel is actually, or is it channel? Is that what that's called on Instagram, or is it
page?
Page. It's Lone.Wolf Customs.
Okay, I'm gonna put it up on the screen for everybody. I did it in all caps because I'm yelling it out. Okay,
that's how I do it in all caps anyway.
Lone.Wolf Customs. You guys go follow him, and for all your laser printing needs over there. Okay, because it is amazing. I love my mirror that you gave me. This fantastic with the Cryptid Huntress logo. I just had some bumper stickers made. I'm going to send you some as soon as I get them in. They should be here next week. I'm gonna have everybody riding around town with Cryptid Huntress bumper stickers.
Everybody wants to ask about Abby. Greg's little daughter was asking about that. The Funko. That's kind of an inside joke with me, Doc, Da, and Steve. We call ourselves the Earp Brothers, and that's. So I've got Doc, Morgan, and Wyatt. I've just got to get myself, which I'm Virgil. So God. I've got I don't have myself up there yet because obviously Doc's Doc. Go figure. DA's Wyatt. Steve is Virgil, or excuse me, Steve is Morgan, and I'm Virgil. So I don't have Virgil yet. So I got to get Virgil.
I love that. Okay, well, tell everybody about the podcast that you're on, because you've got your own podcast, and then you guys have DA Ex Machina too.
Yep, DA Ex Machina.
Which one you want to do first? DA Ex Machina.
Yeah, I'm on that every Wednesday and Saturday night live at 9 p.m. Central, which will be, or excuse me, 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. like mine and your time, Jessica. That's every Wednesday and Saturday night. We're live, and my show is What's Really Out There. It's, like I said, it's pre-recorded. You can find it on all the Spreaker, iHeart Radio. I forget all the... I usually just tell people to search it on YouTube, What's Really Out There, because that's the one I really kind of push is my YouTube channel version of it. But you can find it on all the major podcast platforms too. It's the one that looks like two little camouflaged guys with ball caps on talking to each other. And I think we've got 52 episodes out now. Yeah, 52. And I think number 53 will come out here shortly.
Nice, nice. My computer's starting to glitch out and malfunction over here because I've been on StreamYard too long. Apparently, the StreamYard gods are glitching me out a little bit. That happens, but yeah, you guys go subscribe over on YouTube to DAX Machina Podcast and to What's Really Out There podcast, and wherever you can find your podcasting platforms. Okay, whatever you subscribe to, y'all go check them out. And Robbie, it's been fun. I love having you on here. We have a really good conversation. I mean, this 2.5, actually, it was almost 3 hours have really flown by. So, and we had a great crowd that stuck with us the whole time. So, thank you guys so much for being here and hanging out with me and Robbie. I hope that we answer some questions, maybe left everybody with more on the Ozark Howler. Nonetheless, this has been a really fun conversation. Made a lot of good connections with the national parks, the Order of the Hoo-Hoos, and secret societies of the Lumberjacks, y'all. Who would have thunk it?
You need to talk to get the full thing. You need to talk to Naomi, and she'll love to tell you the story.
I would love to have her on one day. Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll plan on that because that's something that I'm really interested in all this because it's all connected. Also, if they got secret societies of the national park systems, and they would know where all these missing people are going. Ooh, did I just say that out loud?
I didn't hear nothing.
I'm not saying I'm not saying nothing, actually. That just slipped out.
I didn't hear anything.
It makes you think though, right? Okay, well, we've got more to talk about. So that is, maybe we can do a show on it in the future with that too. Okay, and that's something to talk with Naomi about. Okay, I know, right?
Definitely the one that knows all that stuff. So.
Re-indigenizing minds. I like that comment. That's funny. Said start a group. Oh wait, hold on. You're moving too fast. Start a group here called the Woo-Haws. The Woo-Haws.
The Woo-Haws.
Yes. Okay. The Woo-Haws. Oops. Yeah. Okay. Well, you guys, thank you so much, everybody, for being here tonight. This has been so fun, and I appreciate everybody's support. I make sure I didn't leave it. Oh, okay. So thank you for the super stickers tonight. Oh my gosh, Patrick left another one that I missed. I'm so sorry, Patrick. Okay, Patrick said, other than them not being white, some of those pictures you have of the Ozark Howler didn't look too different from sheep squatch reports. And that's right. I actually did a show on sheep squatch, Patrick, a while back, a couple of months ago, actually, where we really did a deep dive on sheep squatch. So that's right. They do look very similar, actually. Sheep squatch is bipedal too, though. So there could be a connection there. Thank you for pointing that out. And thank you for that super sticker. I appreciate that very, very much. And I want to thank Smooth Criminal Triple OG. And I want to also congratulate and thank Rain for being a member of my channel for 1 month. Thank you. This is your anniversary. So thank you so much. And I'm glad you caught the live too. And so Robbie, we'll see you on Saturday night, right? Saturday night on DAX Machina. And I can't wait. I'm going to try to hop in there. I am going to be in the woods a little bit this weekend. Okay. Going to be in the woods doing a little Bigfooting and stuff, but I'll be back too. I'm going to be back. Sorry. You guys come back and see me too. After Robbie's show, I've got my show. We're going to have Linda Eastburn here in the studio on Saturday night. We're going to be talking about Bigfoot, and we've got a lot to talk about with her. So that'll be a good show on Saturday. But yeah, thank you all so much for sticking with us. Robbie, you're the best. Will you please come back and hang out with me soon?
Anytime. You know, all you got to do is ask.
Okay. Well, I'm going to ask. I'll definitely ask. Okay.
And I'll most likely say yes. You know that.
Okay. Well, thank you. And send all my love to DA and all the guys over at DAX Machina too.
I'll do it.
Okay. Awesome. All right, everybody. Well, y'all have a wonderful night. Stay safe out there. Keep your head on a swivel. And we'll see you back next time. All right. See you, Robbie.
See you later.
Y'all.